This is a test of the City of Palatka audio system. We are going to call the meeting.
Commission meeting on October 12th, 2023. We're going to start with the invocation by Pastor Mulberry.
Good evening, everyone. Father, we thank you again for this day. Lord, we thank you for how good you've been all day. You blessed us to come together again. Certainly, God, this evening we said thank you. We pray, God, that you will bless this commissioner and mayor and bless all the participants. God, as we move forward.
That's fine.
Dear Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to come together, Lord, and make decisions for the future of this city. Lord, we pray that you'll bless these commissioners as they make these decisions, Lord, and we ask that you forgive us where we fail you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Commissioner Jones, can you lead us in the pledge, please?
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and
Roll call, please, Ms. Krantz.
Thank you. Commissioner Tammy McCaskill. Here. Commissioner Will Jones.
present.
Commissioner Justin Campbell.
Present.
Commissioner Rufus Borum.
Present.
Mayor Robbie Correa.
Present.
All members are present and accounted for, Madam Mayor, and we do have a quorum.
Thank you. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes?
Make a motion to accept the minutes as printed.
We have a motion in the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Okay, you mean unanimous approval to accept the minutes as presented, rather. We will move on to public recognitions presentations. Proclamation, Ms. Krantz.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Allow me to present to you a proclamation for Fire Prevention Week. Robbie Correa, Mayor of the City of Palatka, together with the members of the Palatka City Commission, do hereby proclaim October 8th through 14th, 2023 as Fire Prevention Week in the City of Palatka. And we do urge all citizens to cook with caution, to plan and practice a home fire escape for Fire Prevention Week 2023, and to support the efforts of our fire and emergency services.
So motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. Favor? And based on a personal request, we have a special guest.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, staff, citizens, during Fire Prevention Week, we resolved to protect ourselves, our families, and our communities from fires. Families should also develop and practice a fire escape plan that includes at least 2 ways of escape out of every room. Citizens should spend time preparing their yards and homes to help prevent fires in and around their property. Please remember, if you experience a fire, get out and stay out. Call from a neighbor's house or a cell phone. If you'd like to schedule a fire safety show for your school, daycare, church, or individual families, please call 386-329-0120. Thank you.
So. It's back. Get some. Thank you.
City manager and administrative reports.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. two quick things before I ask Chief Shaw to come up and give a report. The first is, I believe we heard back from the lobbyists, and we're looking at the dates of November 14th and 15th to visit Tallahassee to meet our representatives. Just wanted to let you know.
Say it again.
November 14th and 15th. And then the other thing is, we've been receiving some bids and quotes for the Jenkins facility renovation. Without much detail, I did want to make you aware that most of those bids are coming in over estimates to the tune of approximately $200,000+ right now. So we'll have more detail at the meeting on the 28th. And most likely have at least award of one or two of those trades as well. That is something that we need to look at and something to be concerned about. With that said, Chief Shaw.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I wanted to take this opportunity to be able to bring awareness to our drug take back. On Saturday, October 28, 2023, the Palatka Police Department will be participating in the National Prescription Drug Take Back Day. National Prescription Drug Take Back Day provides an important opportunity to address a pressing public safety issue surrounding prescription drugs. Unused and expired prescription medication can lead to accidents, misuse, addiction, and pose risk to our community. We kindly request your support in raising awareness about this critical event and encourage our residents to participate. This event will take place in 3 separate locations. The first location is going to be here in Palatka at the Putnam County Hospital, 611 Ziegler Drive. And the second location will be in Interlochen at the TMT Auto Clinic located at 1117 State Road 20 in Interlochen, Florida. The third one will be the Winn-Dixie located at 1115 North Summit Street in Crescent City, Florida. And we will be doing all this at the same time throughout the day. There's a flyer going around for National Drug Take Back Day. Again, the date is October 28th, Saturday, October 28th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's all I have for that. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
No, thank you.
All you do.
Want me to go ahead now or wait till later? Okay, so I'll go on with my rest of my things that I have. The next I have up is our stats. I provided you a copy of the police department stats. You have them there with you as well. As emailed them out to you. I think one of the things we needed to point out, or the most important thing we needed to point out for the statistical data for the time period we have from January to September was we are down negative of 7%. And that's something that we've been pushing towards. As you know, our NIBRS and fibers collection is now takes the place of UCR. And on that report that you have, you can go to the website listed below and you'll be able to pull up the quarterly reports that they post for each agency that reports to them on a regular basis. Is that the website is www.fdle.state.fl.us/CJAB/UCR/annual reports/fiber. And again, it's done at a quarterly basis for 3 months at a time. Our second quarter should be posting shortly. And you'll see as the information that you're receiving from us is the information that we're posting on a state and national level. Any questions about the statistical data?
Any questions from anyone?
I'll have something at the end when you get done.
Okay. Next up is Trunk or Treat. As you know, police department will be hosting its 8th annual Trunk or Treat event on October 31st at the riverfront. The event will take place at 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. or as long as candy lasts. And I think that's an important statement, as we know sometimes candy seems to go pretty fast. We ask that all participants come set up between 2 p.m. and 3:30. If you would like to participate or donate candy, please contact Captain Matt Newcomb at the police department at 386-329-0115. And last, I'd like to point out, we have been working tirelessly For the last couple of years on our staffing levels, as you all are aware, I am pleased to say that our staffing levels have been cut in half. We have moved from when we last spoke of being down 8 officers to we are down 4. We are pressing towards cutting that in half, or not, if not possible, being able to be full by the end of the year. I'm very happy and pleased at the fact that we are able to increase our applicant pool and fill those empty slots, and it allows us to staff positions that we hadn't had staffed in a little while. So I'm pleased to be able to report that to you, and we are continuing to move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I have
Commissioner
comment.
Warren?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, just want to comment and want to commend you guys for all the awesome work you're doing, with the gun take back. You're dealing with the drugs that our county is experiencing an increase in, and those type things, as well as I want to at some point maybe on the report, or maybe a separate report, not a crime report, but we can get an increase in dog bites throughout. Well, I've seen a lot
You
of
mean
dog
animal
bites.
control for
I'm just-
dog bites or police enforcement dog bites?
Just dog, no, not police dog
Okay.
bites.
So
Just
we don't have
dog
that.
bites in general in the community.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll
and-
work with the county and see if we can get those for you.
Yes, sir. Also, I see a lot of like different Baker Acts and different things of that nature dealing with mental health, mental illness. I
Mhm.
had requested additional funds be put in the budget, whatever. So I have to look and see if it got stuck in there or not. I didn't go back and see that. Also, the domestic violence increase. I see a number of those coming through. And I just like to see from, I guess, at least from last year to this year, what does it look like trending from last year numbers and then this year numbers? If
On
we can
domestic
get that.
violence?
Well, yeah, domestic violence reports, the Baker Acts that we see in the reports. And let's see a lot of dog bites and different things of the nature. So we got to try and deal with some of those things as well. A pretty huge impact on the community.
Okay, so just so I'm following, I just want to make sure I got it correct. What would you like to see as far as Baker Acts?
No, just, I mean, not the detailed information because I got that, but just the overall numbers.
Numbers, okay.
Yeah, just kind of a trend, just to see what we got going there. And we just need to do something around that as a commission to try to see what we can do to help in those areas.
Yes, sir. I'll definitely bring that information back to you, provide it to you. I will tell you that we just had 2 officers, 1 sergeant, 1 officer attend the training that SMA put on at the Price Martin Center, centering around mental health. So that is something that we are engaging in, and we are partnering with SMA to be able to solicit grant funding to bring everything that we can as far as training and financial assistance to our community to address those situations.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, because I do know when we have a lot of issues in terms of interaction with people who have a mental illness and how to engage with them without things going south. So certainly appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
I have a request.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I would like for the police department, and this also could be for the fire department as well. I would like to see a more formal, when we have police that we are bringing on, I see that we make a social media post, but I would love to have them come before the commission. 1, to introduce ourselves to them, but to introduce them to the community as a whole. Believe it or not, we actually have quite a few people that go back and watch our YouTube channel, our YouTube live. So that would be an opportunity to resort people back so that they can be a face in the community and not just pop up. So I would love to see something a little bit more formal come about when we bring someone on the task force.
I'll definitely do that. And if you like, I think we've done it a couple years back. So I'll bring back everybody that's been on from the previous 2 years, or just brought on for the previous 2 years. I'll bring them in and introduce them.
Thank you.
Any additional questions of Chief Shaw? Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. West?
Sure. I'll be providing a brief presentation on the newly enacted Live Local Bill, SB 102. This was a legislative priority for Senate leadership this past session by Senator Kathleen Passidomo. This is a big bill, 98 pages. There's a lot to digest. There are a lot of unanswered questions out there, not just for us, but for every jurisdiction within the state of Florida. So I might not be able to answer everything, but let me do a quick run through so you're familiar with the act. Next slide, please. So this new law provides a smashing new record of $811 million in multiple initiatives to expand affordable housing. Thank you. In Florida, just so everyone knows, affordable housing is actually a defined statutory term. It's defined as housing where costs, including monthly rent, taxes, insurance, and utilities, do not exceed 30% of the average median income, otherwise known as AMI, for extremely low income households. So at the very top, you can see the SHIP program, which stands for State Housing Initiatives Partnership Program, received $252 million. That's a program that encourages partnerships between developers and local governments to create new homes. And then the SAIL program, which stands for State Incentive Loan Program, is providing low interest loans for developers who meet certain use criteria. And then we have a whole new program up to $100 million for a new tax credit program. This is almost impossible to see, but it's the allocation of the 67 counties. Putnam received $855,000 under this program. Palatka received $2 million. Yay, Palatka. Moving on, that local option that I mentioned with the $100 million. So this local option for affordable housing, it's a property tax exemption. You don't have to do it, but you can certainly consider it. It authorizes local governments to provide a property tax exemption for specific affordable housing developments. There are certain criteria. They have to have at least 50 units, and at least 20% of the units must be affordable to households at or below 60% AMI. So if this is a direction that you want to go in, I would encourage you to explore it. Feel free to talk to me if you have any questions, but you would need to direct staff to prepare an ordinance to address these tax exemptions for rental and new affordable units. It's not only for new, but for existing as well. There are some land use standards that were tucked into this omnibus bill that are not so great for local governments. This is a little bit of a takeaway of your home rule power. It's a preemption clause. A local government cannot regulate the use, density, or height of an affordable housing development if it is multifamily, mixed-use residential in any area zoned for commercial, industrial, or mixed use. So keep that in mind. Your legislative powers are no longer applicable here. So they don't have to obtain zoning, land use changes, comp plan amendments, or anything like that. And I just lost my screen. This goes back to the use, density, and height. Just so you don't have any concerns about a 20-story building popping up in Palatka, there is a limitation. It's the highest currently allowed height for a commercial or residential development within a 1 mile of the proposed development. So I think we're pretty limited here in Palatka in terms of height, so no need to really stress about that. For some reason, my clicker's not, oh, there we go. So what should local governments do now? Lucky for us, our planning department is already doing a lot of this stuff. We need to basically examine our future land use maps and zoning codes, our comprehensive plans, our height and density regulations. And this is also a good opportunity to ask, how much land is eligible for this new tool? What can be expected on eligible parcels? How can we facilitate affordable housing on those eligible parcels? This is just a side-by-side comparison of what was existing and what has now gone into law. Again, you've lost that local discretion on use, density, and height. The eligible zones have been expanded to include mixed use. So now it's commercial, industrial, and mixed use. The affordability requirement, this is really important. It used to be just 10% of the units must be affordable. Now it's 40% of the units must be affordable for a period of 30 years. So you can't have someone claim they're affordable and then flip it, right? Here's a real sticker for the city. It requires local governments to adopt an affordable housing inventory list by October 1st, 2023. Unfortunately, we did not do this. That's why it's on your consent agenda. It's really important that we get this list approved because we are now currently out of compliance with the statutory provisions in the statute. We are also required to have that inventory list available on a website. And there are certain encouragement provisions on best management practices.
Before you go,
Yes?
excuse me. So would that list be provided like through the housing authority?
No, that is a list that the city has identified eligible parcels of city-owned land that could potentially be used for affordable housing. And we do have that list pulled together. I believe
It's in our package.
it is in your packet.
Yes.
So Wes, if I could add something. So Commissioner Jones, I actually have a meeting with Dr. Woods on Monday. We are going to make him aware that the list is being publicized because there were some properties that they were interested in that are on the list. So it is quite possible that they may be back before you in the near future requesting to purchase some of those.
So we looked at said list like months ago. Is that the same list?
It is minus 2 parcels in the South Historic District adjacent to the ravine. They've been pulled from the list.
I have a question as well. How are we, I know we're out of compliance, but how did we get to that point? The point of being out of compliance with the October 1st deadline.
It just went into effect.
So we're not the only ones that are out of compliance.
I don't know the answer to that question. I have brought it to the commissioner's attention. I've known about this particular bill. I lobbied on this bill, so I'm familiar with it. But as you know, I just recently came on board. But we're going to fix this hopefully starting tonight, right? Moving on. The bill has several provisions that encourage local governments to adopt best practices. They really encourage you to work with the private sector to be the primary delivery vehicle for development of affordable housing. And they also encourage innovative solutions, including modern housing concepts such as tiny homes and accessory dwelling units. I bring that up because I'm working with planning staff to perhaps bring some of those innovative solutions to the city to consider in the future. And that's it. If you have any questions.
Does anybody have any further questions? Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We are now going to open the floor to public comment. The public comment section of the agenda is to give citizens an opportunity to share their thoughts, comments, and concerns without interruption or debate. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. Please fill out the yellow card in the back near the door and provide your name and address for the record. No action will be taken on the item. Is there anybody here for public comment generally? Ms. Kitchens?
You can add that to my list that I turned in for you. I didn't have a public comment originally, but the Affordable Housing Act, what the state of Florida has done. And I just want you to think about this. There's no action you can take. I wonder why the League of Cities is not filing a mass lawsuit against this. This is infringing on our private property rights, our privacy as private homeowners and single family homeowners. And also it's infringing on your local authority over your own zoning. So what's the purpose of having zoning? So, I mean, seriously, I was alarmed when I first heard about this. I can't believe the Florida legislature did it. And I think it's trampling all over your rights as a city government, our elected officials. It's trampling over our rights as property owners in the city of Palatka, and not just Palatka, all over the whole state. I think it's atrocious. It should never have been passed, and shame on our legislators for doing that to us. It's obviously geared toward developers, not the citizens that live here. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Jenkins?
Good evening. My
Name and address, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, I was just going to say that 1 minute. Name and address for the record,
my
please.
name is Betty Jenkins, and I live at 1701 Washington Street, apartment B173, here in Palatka.
Thank you.
The reason for me being up here today is because of the way that the Palatka Police Department has been targeting people that have just been on Washington Street, they have just been sitting at the substation, just targeting people. It doesn't matter what it is. They can pull out of the driveway. Here come police, they come and they stop them. They don't have a right to do that. They just keep doing it. And me personally, my house, my apartment, it was a shooting there. There's nothing that has been done about the shooting. It's stuff going on now, but I've talked with Chief Shaw. I've talked with the detectives. No arrests have been made.
Thank you. We can't address the issue at this time, but certainly we'll talk about that in the future and talk to Chief Shaw.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Askew Vickers?
Askew Vickers, 207 North 18th Street, Palatka, Florida. I was here last meeting. I asked a question about procedure and policy. You said to me, she'll answer that question after you're through. I waited for an hour, 30 minutes to an hour. I never got a reply. I raised my hand to ask the question. You ignored me. I'm asking again not to you, to the attorney. Explain me the difference between policy and procedure, and the rule of law.
Again, commissioners, and I'm going to put this on the top of my staff response when it comes to that point on the agenda.
Okay.
So there's no answer to that?
I'll answer it during staff response.
Okay.
Thank you. And yes, my apologies for last meeting when we didn't address it or respond to your question.
So how do I get an answer?
It's going to be, as Ms. West said in her staff report, so she will provide that answer.
Okay. The next question is this. Call for service, can it be denied if we call for service by the police? Can they deny a call for service? That's another one that we have to learn. Okay.
Again, we'll get you that response.
Okay, another question to all of you. On the agenda, how many of you have questions, questions about things that need to be done in Palatka? How many have you put on this agenda in the past month or two? Nobody's? So everything comes from the city manager that you're talking about. You have nothing to say about what's going on in Palatka. Mr. Gorm, I asked about having meetings. You said to me that you had the phone, but I didn't show up. I did. Why did you stop?
Again, we'll give you that answer. We're just trying to make sure that we give people the opportunity for public comment and get responses back to you so that they're accurate and informed responses.
I waited 2 weeks and I didn't get nothing.
And I understand that, and I did apologize for that. We are going to do better, I promise.
Is there a purpose of coming to me if you can't get an answer by the question that you asked? I mean, she's an attorney, she'd be able to answer that without going into anything else. Is that?
Mr. Vickers, the next item on the agenda is staff response. So what we'd like to do is have everyone who wants to speak under public comment speak. We've made notations of your 3 questions, and as soon as we get to item 5B, we'll give you those answers, sir. I promise.
Do I have to wait another hour?
I sure hope not.
We hope not. Ms. Givens?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I guess this is on. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Commissioners, city officials, everyone that's here tonight. Good evening. The reason I'm here is to update the commissioners as they requested on Historic Center Academy. I'd like to introduce to you our chairman of the board, Mr. Reverend James Vickers. Well, I would like to tell you what we're currently doing. Let's see here. Historic Center Academy Preservation and Community Development Corporation, which is a nonprofit. We have an active board and we've been meeting for several months now. I want to let you know that we have been chosen as one of 2023 Florida's 11 to Save. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but we were chosen from the Florida Trust for Historic Preservation as one of the 11 to Save. We are currently working now with our ambassador, because we've been assigned an ambassador from the state to work towards preserving historic CA. I know that we're still currently on the blight list, the Blight to Bright list, but we would like to show you what we're doing and what our plans are. We would like to request to be on an agenda for November the 9th for the city commissioners meeting. Invite Mr. Vickers up. Let's see if I'm forgetting. The purpose of the 2023 Florida 11 to Save will be, I'm sorry, that part. We were announced July 19th at the Preservation on Main Street Conference, which was held in Ocala. As I said, our ambassador will be working with us, our goal is to, to save this property. We're having help. We're also partnering with the University of Florida with their historic program. So I'll have Mr. Vickers come up and share some more information.
We're also working with Dr.
Mr. Vickers, excuse me,
James
could you
Vickers.
please give your name and address for the record? Thank you.
12 North 6th Street here in Palatka, Florida. We also had a couple of meetings with Dr. Woods with the Palatka Housing Authority. And we went over MOA that the original organization had. And at that time, we have revived the board of trustees and all of that. So we in conference with him, and we'll be working along with him to alleviate some of the problems and issues that have been going on with that building. But our main purpose and goal is to just let the city know that there is some activity now that's being done, and we're moving in the positive direction, I believe.
Thank you.
We just solicit the help of this body because in the long run, we feel that it's going to be a viable entity over in that area. Because it's been years they've been talking about a one-stop shop for the citizens over on the north side. And when we complete this program, if we're successful, it'll be a major impact and make a major impact for the north side, actually, so the people can help themselves. But we just appreciate y'all's support in this matter.
Thank you. Is anybody set there? Okay.
I also want to invite everyone. We are having a public meeting on October the 25th. That location will be assigned. And we are also hosting an old meet and greet on Friday, December the 1st. And that information will be upcoming soon. So we just want to update you, as I think Commissioner Campbell requested that we keep you in the loop of what we're doing. We are working. We do have an ambassador. It's a goal. We just need our local support. So if I can ask tonight, is it possible that we can have this passed maybe as an ordinance to have a local designation for this property?
Attorney Wester, can you check and see if it's locally as well as nationally designated? We can't give you a response today, but we will look and see if that's already in existence, or then talk about how to proceed if we are going to.
Okay. And my last question is, I know that we're on the Blight to Bright list. We're also requesting to be removed off that list, and we'd like to know what is it we need to do, or what more do we need to do to be removed from that list?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, with that, could we also take in consideration connecting with Sunny so that if more than one commissioner is to be present at the meeting that she stated, that it be noticed so that we could be within the sunshine law?
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here for public comment? Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment.
Couple of things that I can address right now, the difference between policy and procedure. Policy is a rule, sir. I forget his name.
Vickers.
Vickers.
Mr. Vickers.
Mr. Vickers, policy is a rule and procedure is implementation of that rule. There was a question about whether the call for services can be denied. Chief Shaw, would you like to address that? And I'm directing that to our department head that is most appropriate to answer your question. Chief Shaw, if you'd like to answer the question, please. I am permitted to designate who is most eligible and responsible for answering your question, sir.
Excuse me. They shouldn't, yeah. Go ahead, Commissioner Jones.
I think what Mr. Vickers is saying, he's asked that question before. We all know that. So he wanted to direct it to legal counsel. So I think he's within that, right? Just tell him, please.
Sure. I can do some research into it. Chief Shaw probably knows the answer off of the top of his head, but I'll have to look into it and report back next meeting. The request on the removal from the blight to bright list, what do we need to do? The response to that would be consistent with every other property owner that is on that list, is to either bring the property in compliance with the existing code enforcement violations or and pay the existing lien. That is what every other property owner that is on that list would have to do. So unless I get direction to carve out an exception for this parcel, that is what every other property owner would need to do. There was one other question.
I can address that one. And before I do, I kind of want to add to the removal of the blight to bright list. I think the majority of you know, and for the benefit of the public, that list is actually intended to draw attention to these properties, not from the perspective of just being or having code violations, but to come up with creative solutions to bring them into compliance. So that's the other purpose of the meeting with Dr. Woods on Monday. And I've added to my list to reach out to Ms. Givens and Mr. Vickers to have another conversation to see how we can be partners in their efforts to save Central Academy. The other question was the agenda development. Simply how I develop the agenda is based upon policy set from the commission. So these items are here to affect policy and to achieve your budget directives. And outside of that, it's only if you request specific items or if the public fills out an agenda request form. Those are the ways the agenda is developed.
Thank you.
I have something I'd like to say.
Commissioner Campbell.
I'm not sure how the rest of the commission feels, but I would like for us to, for our next meeting, address and discuss the staff response portion, because some of the stuff that comes before us does not necessarily need a response from staff, but some of it may need a response from us as commissioners, decision makers of this general body. So I would like to move forward with having a formal discussion as to what we would like to see as a commission, and I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, and when do we want to have this discussion?
I'm fine with having it at our next agenda, at our next meeting, so that it's properly put on. But I would love to hear from the rest of the commission as to if this is something that they would even want to have.
Yes, I'm in agreement with Commissioner Campbell.
Anybody else have any thoughts or anything they want to say about that?
Well, my question is, I understand what, I just want to get a little bit of clarity in terms of when we say staff response and commission, you want the commission to also be responding to?
I believe that there are some things that come before us that we should be able to respond to, but as it is printed, we don't have the ability to. And I think that takes away our right as the commission. And I think it does our constituents an injustice that they're not able to access questions directly, and we're not able to provide a response. As we see listed, it says that we can take no action on the items, but it does not say we cannot discuss an item. And I do believe, again, that there are things that come before us as a commission that we should be able to respond to and have the appropriate time to give to our citizens that come before us. I don't feel that it is appropriate for us to throw responses that are directed to us, to staff solely, when we have an opinion and we should be able to give that as well. So again, I would like for it to be properly agended so that we can have this open discussion at length at our next commission meeting.
Thanks. Are we talking about if a resident or a speaker come up and make a comment during public comment during that time? Or
I'm open for discussion. I would like to, that's why I wanted to have the discussion so that we're able to put it. I don't want to put action items and that not be, I just want us to be able to have a discussion and then staff takes what they need from it. Because I believe that we as a commission, or we are the ones who came up with this moving comments and all of that kind of stuff up. So I want to make sure that we are in the process of making sure that this is something that we want to revisit, because as of lately, I'm not I'll just be completely honest. I'm not pleased with the way that it's flowing.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that as well in terms of adding the commission. That's, that's our call in terms of being on the board and being able to kind of help set this up based on a board. That's from my opinion. So I'm in agreement.
Anybody else? It seems there's a consensus to add this for discussion on the next agenda.
Yeah, I agree, because give this opportunity. Why would the people come take time out to come to these meetings if they don't feel like they're being heard? That's the purpose. And we'll do a better job, I promise. Mr. Vickers.
Any further discussion on this?
And I don't believe that in the response of Ms. Jenkins, I don't believe we heard, I don't necessarily hear a response to what she has brought forth from anybody within staff.
Yeah, so I don't know the details surrounding the incident at Ms. Jenkins' residence, but I do have a note here to reach out and figure out the details and get with Chief Shaw.
Ms. Jenkins, that's what the follow-up would be. So I didn't want you to sit here and not hear any response to what you did bring to us. So.
Commissioner McCaskill.
So once he follows up with Chief Shaw, then the follow-up will be, you'll get with her, you'll reach out to her and give her an answer.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Are we still on the staff responses?
I don't know if there are any further staff responses.
We didn't have all staff reports. I haven't heard from the department.
City Manager Griffith, I don't want to misspeak, but I thought we had narrowed it down to doing one staff report per meeting versus multiple as we were doing previously. Because we heard no other reports, that was the question.
Yes, yeah, I've got a note and it's on our agenda next time to have PW, and if time permits, have fire provide you with a report. So,
But I didn't know we were going to do it that way, but I have a question for you then.
yes, sir.
Before we move forward. And this is in the Public Works Department. Last week, I had opportunity to go downtown and walk the streets. And I got called in reference to some trip hazards along St. John's Avenue. We're talking about the streets intersection. I do understand we have some work going on with the intersection. And I addressed them up here in our last meeting about the quality assurance and the quality of workmanship. In addition to that, for the last year, I talked about getting roads done throughout the community, and I asked for estimated costs so that we could budget for them. And I'm not sure if we actually have enough money in the budget, because I saw money being directed to downtown in the tune of 1.5 million. And I actually thought that was for the entire city. We were going to do work on both sides of town, north side, as well as downtown and other areas. However, this that we're approving tonight do not address other areas at all. And I never received the estimated cost of doing the resurfacing that I've been requesting. I just want to know why and why these projects that I'm requesting are being leapfrogged or just being delayed. I'll say it that way.
Mr. McMillan, I can take that. So speaking to an item that's on your agenda, which I would much rather do at that specific item, but this $1.5 million is to accept a grant from the Florida Department of Transportation. That is not from your local revenues. So it's not being diverted from another road. It was granted to us specifically for that road. In reference to your request for estimates on roads, Mr. McMillan has provided me with what we call an RSL report. It's a remaining service life report with the approval of the budget, which is a budget number for no specific roads. The next item for the commission to consider is prioritizing what roads you want to resurface, and then we'll look at estimates. So that is expected to come to you sometime either at the last meeting in October or first meeting in November. What we need to do is on that list, highlight those roads that are anywhere from a 0 to a 5 remaining service life that are already funded from outside sources. So you know what's already covered. So that is coming, sir. We were just waiting for the budget to be passed, and then the commission then can direct us as a whole as to what roads they want to see resurfaced.
Well, again, I think I said it. I know I said it about prioritizing, and I'm gonna keep saying it until something happens. But I didn't want to go past your reports, Public Works, City Manager, before I say it again, because I wanted it mentioned in this meeting. You don't have to tell me anything else, Dale. I just want to put it out. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of staff? Thank you. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items besides D to be pulled?
Well, I was asked to have item G and M. This one.
I'm sorry, what was the first? I heard G. What was your first one?
Yeah, G and M.
G and M. Okay.
Did you say M as in?
M as in Mary.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I would actually like to see L pull, JKL, and that'll be it. I want.
Make a
Oh,
motion.
yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Commissioner Campbell, go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as printed, excluding items D, G, L, and M for discussion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Thank you. G.
Thank you. Allow me to present to you resolution number 2023 R239.
I wanted to, before we move forward with the discussion, we do have Mr. Pastor Willie McKinnon that is in the audience. One of his items was on the consent agenda for approval, and it was ultimately approved. If we would allow him the opportunity to speak to the event that he would be doing, I think it would be beneficial to those that are in here and those that may go back and listen at this broadcast.
And please give us your name and address for the record.
So you just want me to discuss?
Just say what it
event.
is that you're doing.
Okay. My name is Willie B. McKinnon III. I live at 131 Oak Haven Lane in East Palatka, Florida. What has transpired is over the course of the past two weeks, as many of our citizens know, we lost Bailey Holbrook. And through that, we held many prayer vigils and stuff of that nature to begin with for her, and then ultimately for the family as she went on to be with Jesus. But through that, we had a lot of people that made decisions to turn their life over to serving God instead of serving themselves. And through those decisions, of course, your next step is following through in believers' baptism. And so we had well over 200 of our young people that attend Palatka High School that made that decision and then ultimately wanted to follow through with baptism, as well as many other adults and people within the community. And so we were trying to figure out a way to make this happen When we had that prayer vigil at CL Overturf Auditorium, I had been at the hospital with Matt and Casey, the family, that day. And there was a mass of students and parents and people that showed up there for that prayer vigil. And I was not back in town yet. I saw something happen within this community at that moment that I never saw happen before. As I walked in, there is pastors from every denomination, every line of churches there with our people at Trinity Baptist Church, as well as the people of this community, loving on them, encouraging them, and praying with them. So when we got to the place of moving forward with baptism, I thought it'd just be fitting that we unite and come together as one, and all those pastors come together and baptize them alongside me. It is something that I have had a vision for a long time, is for all of us pastors to come together and not have our lines drawn in the sand over flavors. You know what I mean? And so we thought no better place fitting than the riverfront. Where does this community come together to gather? We come to the riverfront for fireworks. We come to the riverfront for Christmas parades. And I know that the high school would work, or the stadium would work, but that's where Palatka residents come together, not the entire community coming together. And so we saw it fitting. We got with the staff here, and as tonight I see y'all have approved it. So I want to personally thank y'all from the bottom of my heart for seeing the positive impact that this is making on the community. I will add one thing in before I close up. Last week I was called to the high school in the wake of this event, and these people coming to accept Christ into their life and serving God. I watched multiple members of the local gang take their gang signals off of their necklaces and set them down. So this not only impacts us as a church and us as a body of Christ, it's impacting this community as well. Is that what you wanted?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor.
May I go ahead?
Yes, you may, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I present to you resolution number 2023 R239, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Palatka incorporating the proposed progressive discipline policy to Appendix 01A Code of Conduct of the Personnel Policy and providing for scrivener's errors.
So move.
Mayor,
Go
may
ahead,
I?
yes,
Thank you.
please.
Commissioners, thank you for pulling this item. Earlier today, based upon a conversation Attorney West and I had, I realized that an earlier version of this was published to the agenda. So in front of you, I've provided you the version we would like adopted, which includes highlighted in yellow in the 6th bullet point, that provision that you asked us to add at the last meeting. Specifically, police officer and fire station employees are exempt from this provision. Speaking to weapons, knives, explosives, et cetera, in the workplace, vocational tools required in public works are likewise exempt.
I have another question. I think would be conflicting because we are I think we are felon-friendly organization, and it says conviction of a felony, the nature of which would be considered to render an individual unreliable as an employee. I guess we just make a determination of what particular felon, and it's not actually noted where we,
So Commissioner Jones, this specific bullet references existing employees, those that are in the employ of the city currently. So for instance, if somebody was convicted of a felony while employed with the city, given the nature of it, we would have the capability to terminate. Again, there has to be some discretion that's exercised. I believe that your comment is probably more focused on when we do background checks on prospective employees.
No. So here you're saying we already hired a felon because I guess I don't really want to put it. Okay.
No, somebody who's already an employer and then has a felony charge or is convicted of felon.
So you're
Yeah.
telling me we don't hire felons?
No, that's not true. We have.
So that's why I'm asking about this question, because you're saying here, if one commit or is convicted after employment.
Correct.
Okay, maybe I'll ask this offline.
Okay.
Any further discussion on D? Questions?
Well,
What's the? Go ahead, Mr.
no,
Bourne.
you know, you're not finished.
No, I'm going to another question.
Okay, I guess, your question would be, I guess, to when HR, because if you're talking about the pre-screening of a applicant who could be a convicted felon, there are, I guess, there's language in there, I guess, that would make sure that we're not hiring people who were a convicted felon based on whatever degree it was. So that would probably be a question, I guess, for our HR.
So how this works is when we make a decision to make an offer to an employee, it's conditioned upon a background and a drug screening. If there are findings based upon that background, human resources, the city manager, and the city attorney will confer. A lot of things come under consideration: the nature of the felony, the time of the felony, and also the person's history following the felony. So for instance, a theft 20 years ago, and then someone showing us through their work history and how they've conducted themselves for 20 years after that, we're most likely, if they're a good standing citizen, we're going to give them an opportunity, just like we would anybody else. Someone who had a battery, 6 months ago, probably not.
Both of those are misdemeanor unless it's a grand theft. So they will be able to be hired anyway. But I'm talking about, this says felon. I'm going to talk to you later on now. So,
okay.
Because there's so many what else. What about the bullet point down that says any solicitation, distribution in violation of city policy? It don't have solicitation of what?
There's another section in our personnel policy that prohibits solicitation by employees while they're on the clock. Basically, this is just referencing that.
And what, not being specific, and I don't think anybody will be guilty of this, but solicitation of funds for support. That's solicitation, but it's not. I just want some clarity, because I just sent out some solicitation letters for support of an event. I know, but it doesn't explain it to me. I mean, I know how people get caught up in gray areas. And when people lives are on the balance based upon interpretation, and we're writing policies, I'd like for it to be just clear. That's it. So it doesn't say, it just says solicitation of district.
Ms. West, do you have any comments to that?
I mean, we can certainly provide clarity, but it's solicitation in violation of current city policy. But we can certainly provide clarity.
Give me some IE or example, something.
We could just reference the other section of the policy if you would like, commissioners.
Put that in there, because I just like it to be clear when we're approving something, we know I know what I'm approving.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Commissioner Braun.
To the other piece on there, I guess I see the other bullet point where it says, this courtesy, let me see, got it here. Discourtesy or impoliteness to customers. Yeah, I think we would need to just look at some of the things that would clarify that if this is pretty much it, or it should be referencing whatever the policy is, if this is the policy, to have the policy ID here, where we can kind of reference that. But it's just, again, there's some of that is it's just kind of generic.
Generic and vague. It's real vague.
Because it's is discourtesy or impoliteness to customers. That could be a lot. There's gray areas in a lot of those. So just I think it was just clean that up a little bit. I think it'd be better.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to contribute to this discussion?
They need to bring that back.
there anything that HR would like to add or elaborate on, if that's appropriate task at this time?
As it pertains, and I do understand that the commission wants, details and to clear up gray areas. But as you all probably know, in putting together a policy, if we were to take and detail out every little incident, we probably wouldn't cover all of the incident that could take place. Something may not list it just simply as you got walk to the right or to the left, but it's in there. So it's great. Policies are really designed to be vague, but without putting all of the little details. We can't detail out every line of the policy. If you would like, we could, but there are going to be some things that, like being discourteous to a citizen. Just thinking when you say discourteous to a citizen, we got one of our employees out that's just going back and forth with a citizen that's asking for a service that we provide. So, we're looking at that. If we were to put all of that language on just that particular bullet point, you all, I know y'all have a big book that's put before you now, it would be much bigger. Whatever is the will of the commission to put in there, of course, we'll look at it and, try to get as much of that data to make it clear that the policies won't be, every bullet item won't be, 6 or 7 lines. So that's why it's just kind of being discourteous or, this type thing, just to give you an outline of what we're looking for. Yes, sir.
So if that's the case, why do you feel the need to add this if we already have it covered?
Add a discipline policy?
So you just say we have one, and this is the.
Okay, if I can answer, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Because our current code of conduct policy was just a small policy. It didn't give us, what this does is give us an outline of what different bullet points of, so everything is not just immediate termination. It gives us a step, a written verbal this. There are things that could happen that would be an automatic termination that would look bad on the city, the board of commissioners, and everything else if we allow that to take place in the city. But there are things that we give our employees that they may do, that they'll get a verbal, they'll get a written, and they got a 3-step before it leads to termination. So they're getting a progression as to these are things we're warning you about, we're writing to you about, we're giving you a 2nd and 3rd warning before termination. And so you have 3 different groups that's listed in this discipline policy, 3 different groups outlining, giving ideas of things that could be contained in there. Everything is not listed. I can tell you that every little thing that could be listed in section 2 is not. But if you see something there and you could say, well, when we're talking about this scenario, it could fit right there. So it won't be verbatim, everything that we can encounter, because we don't know what we're going to encounter from day to day. I promise you, do it out.
Any further questions, Commissioner Jones?
And this last one, it says in here as an example, failing to follow practices as needed for the specific job assignment. And it goes back to what Mr. Vickers just asked a question. And I'm not a lawyer, I don't practice law, but policy is written in what we follow. Practice is what we do. So sometimes the practices may not be the policy, but we do it that way. Do you agree with that?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And
So that's one that's going to be up to interpretation. Because we've been doing it this way, doesn't mean it's right. But if we wanna jerk this person around, we'll say, well, you wasn't following policy, even though that's been the practice that we follow. It's just little things like that I look at when I'm looking at these things. So again, I just wanted to bring it up because you bring it before us to approve it. I just think that we could have just added, we here at the city have a progressive discipline policy, and it goes verbal, written, and up to lead to termination.
Right.
So, and that would have been fine. But I think some of these things are, they're just vague. I'm sorry, nothing, that's to the attorney. All right, That's just my take. I'm sorry.
Commissioner Borrow.
Right, I just, yeah, on the, like, because it says prohibited actions and behavior. So prohibited mean that you're not gonna do it. You're not allowed to do that without some action. So I think we just need to be careful with our wording and the things that we add. I mean, because some of the, I would rather not see it down here. And if you had like a general policy that would address that, as opposed to when you start hitting bulleted items, we can probably put ourselves in a pigeonhole. That's what I'm saying. Have some instead of gray areas, we need to be a little bit more clear, but not list out every action or whatever. I hope that makes sense.
Mr. Griffith.
Mayor, Commissioners, so this was recommended as a result of Tom Masters' review of our personnel policy. These bullet points and this language is verbatim from the Society of Human Resources and Management. What we have now in our policy states that we have a progressive discipline policy. However, there is no written guidance. So therefore, we have a policy that is very gray and leads to ambiguity and inconsistent application. So the intent of this is to actually prescribe step 1, step 2, and step 3, so that we do not open ourselves up to potential litigation in the future by not applying the same set of rules to everyone.
Anybody else have any further questions? There is a motion and a second on the table. All in favor?
May I ask a question? For clarity on the motion was originally, when I read the caption before, Mr. Griffith pointed out that he had language he wanted to add. Is the motion going to be amended to include the manager or the commission's recommendations?
Who made the initial motion?
Commissioner Barr.
Okay.
I think in the event that we vote and we can refer back to council, we vote to either yay or nay this and someone come up with a new motion if it does not pass.
That is procedurally appropriate.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition?
Nay.
That was 3-2.
If you could just recall the yays and nays for the ease of the clerk recording the minutes.
Aye.
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 Campbell.
So Campbell, McCaskill, and Correa.
Foreman Jones dissenting.
I would like to make a note to the commission as well by saying we also need to, when we want to be consistent, we need to take that advice with our hiring and promotional policy too, to make it clear and consistent.
So Commissioners, if you don't entertain another motion to add the language that's highlighted, this will be on your agenda at the next meeting to add that provision for police and fire personnel and public works vocational tools.
This passed.
But not with
You
the
can-
addition of the language.
That motion was just to go through. You can entertain another motion to add.
Add
What
the
I didn't want
language.
to do was remove the motion, so it caused confusion. So we voted just to bring it to a close, but there still can be a motion to entertain what it was that Commissioner Jones and Commissioner Borm has brought to the
With the
table.
additional language. Yeah. And is there a motion for the modifications? And be specific, please.
Well, I don't have the specific language right now based on what I'm looking at. So I'm at a state of unreadiness in terms of giving you what the language I feel that should go into some of these things. I'm not prepared for that.
I would like to make a motion that we table this for coming back to the commission, given the opportunity for the commissioners to get any language that they deem necessary to staff, so that it would be able to come back with us, before us, with consideration to what was presented to them by commission.
Okay, so we have.
So basically, I'm making a motion
motion to
not to
table.
bring the final before us without consideration of what we discussed tonight.
Okay, we have a motion to table it and bring it back with the additional language as suggested.
And second, for the sake of discussion,
Mhm.
because what we're doing for each, if I may. Madam Mayor.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Okay, and what we're doing, we're bringing pieces of the policy every meeting, before us every meeting, right?
Mhm.
So isn't this something, are you asking for the final or every piece so that we'll be able to look at it prior to coming, so we don't have this problem every meeting?
So so I can kind of give the background. My initial was we have the discussion, we bring it back so that at the end, once we have the compiled packet, we make one vote to just do everything. But with this particular matter, it's obvious that there are some additional things that we would like to have be considered. And I want to give the commission that opportunity. So the point of tabling it, so it doesn't come back to the next commission meeting, is to give that opportunity to have the commission. But if I need to make a recommendation within my motion, I would do so to give a week, to have this a week prior to, when is the close for agenda? That information be provided prior to the meeting for the agenda so that we could have,
The
if it
18th.
needs to come back to us, we have the information.
The 18th, Commissioner.
So
So the
prior to the 18th.
Okay, so Ms. Krantz, do we have that motion? Is that clear? Okay, thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Thank you. Was unanimous. On to G.
Item G is resolution 2023 R 242. Madam Mayor, this is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Palatka awarding marina electrical work to Palmetto Electric under a piggyback agreement with the City of Palm Coast, contract number RFP CD 1960 for a total not to exceed of $85,251 and providing for scrivener's errors.
Thank you. Mr. McMillan?
So what this award is, it's a response to a bid that was previously issued where we had one respondent that proposed numbers for the same work at a total of $192,000. At the time, it was deemed that price was not acceptable for the scope for providing electrical for the pylons to duct. Yeah.
I'd like to make the motion to adopt resolution 2023 R 242.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second President.
Second with Commissioner Jones. Thank you. Sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. So the scope of this work is to provide power for the hookups to support the Palatka Boathouse Marina Agreement. This price is significantly cheaper due to the fact that we can directly contract with the vendor with a piggyback contract that's issued through the City of Palm Coast. And again, this is to provide electrical from around where the fish is, down the dock underneath, and then providing a flex connection to the floating dock, and then coming up to the dock to provide 13 hookups for the boat slips.
Was this agreement like in 2019? As I was looking at it, I mean, explain to me.
So are you referencing the agreement with Palm Coast that Palmetto Electric has? Correct, yes. So it was originally issued in 2019 and extended after the original term of the contract had expired. So currently it is still active. Our purchasing policy allows us to entertain cooperative purchasing contracts with other entities. They follow the same procurement processes we do. So an open solicitation, essentially we can mirror their clauses for ourselves.
So we put this bid on the street?
Previously, we did put this out to bid. We received one respondent that was at $192,000 for the same scope. So we had rejected that response, and reached out to this vendor directly and requested if we could utilize their contract with Palm Coast through a letter of engagement. They proposed this price of $85,251 for the same scope of work that was previously bid.
Was like half.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Any
So,
additional questions? Okay. We have a motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. No, not for this. Is that correct? Okay, okay. I'm so sorry. Ms. Kitchens?
And I did request this be pulled prior to the meeting by sending out emails, and I also want 6M pulled for
It's already-
discussion. To let you know, okay, I have some concerns with the wording of this, basically. 6G, illegal kitchens, 1027 South 12th Street, Palatka, Florida. 6G is the city doing a piggyback with Palm Coast, quote, to complete the remainder of the supporting work for the Palatka Boathouse Marina Agreement. To the best of my knowledge, there is no agreement with Palatka Boathouse Marina, as they have not yet signed the agreement. That's what I've been told every time I've asked to have my request for public information records honored. In the fourth whereas paragraph, the resolution says, Palmetto Electric produced a quote for this work that totaled $83,751 for scope of work based on rates provided under piggyback contract, and authorized a budget transfer of $159,000 from 101-18-519-6-6463 FDOP MSCOP St. John's Avenue, Mosley to the railroad. This appears to be moving funds from the St. John's Avenue, Mosley to Railroad to a private-owned Palatka Boathouse Marina. I'm concerned that the funds are being moved from St. John's Avenue. In the fifth or next whereas paragraph, it specifically states in the last paragraph not to exceed $83,751 to support the electrical work at, again, the Palatka Boathouse Marina. Once again, it appears to show city money going to upgrade the private Palatka Boathouse Marina. In addition, the now therefore paragraph states, staff is authorized to execute a contract for electrical work at the Palatka Boathouse Marina, outlined in a piggyback agreement utilizing the city of Palm Coast contract. I won't read the number. Once again, money for a private-owned Palatka Boathouse Marina. I would also remind you that as of the last time when I checked a few weeks ago, the agreement with the Palatka Boathouse Marina to run the water taxi service and use the Mary Lawson Brown Marina building still had not been signed to Scott Legacy, the owner of Palatka Boathouse Marina. I've had a public information request in since last year to get a copy of this agreement, but have been repeatedly told by the previous city attorney, Valeria Thomas, that the agreement has not yet been signed. The city has been trying to work out on an agreement with Palatka Boathouse for about 10 years, and still no valid signed agreement as far as I know. Now, the fact that the reference to Palatka Boathouse Marina instead of Palatka Boathouse, I'd like to point out that the city-owned building at the city dock was officially named the Mary Lawson Brown Marina last year, and calling it Palatka Boathouse Marina is an error. So either you're giving money to the private Palatka Boathouse Marina, and they don't even have a contract with the city of Palatka yet. There's no signed contract. So I think this whole thing there's something wrong with this. I have no problem with you piggy banking, but I want to know that money's not being taken from St. John's Avenue, which you all have repeatedly complained about nothing being done, and given to a private entity. And this may be fine, but it needs to be reworded. There's something seriously wrong with it, because there's no contract with Palatka Boathouse Marina, the actual building
Thank
you
you,
have
Ms.
down there.
Kitchens. Thank you, Ms. Kitchens.
Commissioner Borum, do you mind if I respond to that real quick?
I would like the city attorney to respond.
Well, I don't think she has this information, but I do.
Okay.
Okay, so I apologize if your public records request fell through the cracks in the transition between Ms. Thomas and Ms. West. The agreement was actually signed on May 30th. I believe Ms. West is making a note. We can get you a copy of that agreement. And this is a Scrivener's error, so I appreciate you pointing this out. It is for the city marina. It is not for improvements at the private Palatka Boathouse Marina. I apologize for that Scrivener's error.
I would like to request you table this till the corrections have been made, and then bring it back at the next meeting.
So
I believe her public comment time was up, and if you do that, you're not going to meet the obligations of your agreement with Palatka Boathouse Marina.
So thank you, Ms. Kitchens. Let us discuss this further.
Thank you.
All things to be considered. Ask us to bring things in at the 12th hour and said, you know, it's an error. That's gonna catch us one of these times and not gonna be good. But can we make that correction, Mr. Griffin, before, and we
Yes.
know what we're talking about, and we know that it is the city's marina?
Yes,
Mary
sir.
Lawson Brown.
The correct
And-
language need to be in.
And actually, on all of your resolutions for the past couple of years, item number 2 says the city manager or designee without public hearing is authorized to correct any typographical scrivener's errors which do not affect the intent of this resolution. Again, it's just labeled incorrectly. I apologize for that.
Okay. Anybody else? We have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Thank you. On to L.
Okay, Madam Mayor. And that was resolution 2023 R248. The resolution of the City Commission of the City of Palatka awarding comprehensive plan update community engagement work to the Northeast Florida Regional Council for a total not to exceed of $46,000 and providing for scrivener's errors.
How about- Second.
Staff presentation. And have a second and discussion session.
Ms. Walsh.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Lisa Welsh, Planning Director. This item is to award a contract to the Northeast Florida Regional Council to do the community engagement portion of the comp plan update that we've been talking about for a couple of years now. Due to budget cuts, we had to split the project. We were originally quoted $125,000 as the best quote from the continuing services contract. But again, due to the budget cuts, we couldn't keep the project intact, and so we split it. That's the purpose of this award, is they are another government agency, and we were able to directly contract with them to do the community engagement portion.
Thank you. Anybody have any further questions or discussion? No? Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Do you have a speaker card, Madam Mayor?
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
Do you have a speaker card?
No, I do not for that topic.
I make a motion that we adopt resolution 2023 R48.
The motion? We already did this, but
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. It was unanimous. On to M.
M is resolution number 2023 R249. A resolution of the City of Palatka, Florida, amending the 2023-2024 fiscal year budget to reflect the directives provided after the adoption of the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget and providing for scrivener's errors.
Thank you. We do have somebody here for public comment, Ms. Kitchens.
Allegra Kitchens, 1027 South 12th Street, Palatka, Florida. The only reason I wanted this pulled is because I think you need to have a discussion on this item because it includes new positions, and you all at previous meetings, you all have discussed the new positions. You've wanted some of them removed. Specifically, the CRA Director, Main Street Manager is one of the 10 that you're keeping under this resolution. And I think that you all need to discuss it a little bit more amongst yourselves, and that's why I requested for it to be pulled. Thank you.
Please, Ms. Cotty.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and everyone that's here. I'm just basically explaining the resolution in that in order for us to eliminate all of the positions that were requested or that the city manager decided, these are the many changes that basically had to take place. Most of the reductions in expenses are related to the FICA, the retirement and the salaries themselves. However, anytime the general fund costs as a fund is decreased, then it also decreases the required amount for transfers from various utility funds as well. As it relates to the revenues, it's right there, self-explanatory. The increase we had the SAFE grant, and we also had the fire capital replacement. These were some items that in the original budget, we did not realize, so we had to put those items in. But after it's all said and done, the net impact of the change in revenues and expenses are zero. They're both zero. And then there are, of that original 22 lists that was received with the first version of the budget, as mentioned previously, 3 of those were not really positions. Those were differentials. And we are now have 10 positions that are in the, I don't see all of this resolution, but I believe 10 positions are actually in there.
Commissioner Jones.
Is, you said 10, the board has 8,
I'm looking.
and my packet has 10.
Yeah. I'm looking
And-
for is my, I wish I can see. the
Page
detail.
189.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there's a little
Are you looking
portion.
at that?
Right, one
That's-
says
that's
8
not
and
the
15.
same.
Yeah, it's a discrepancy, is what I'm.
The number, that throws your numbers off.
Oh, so that's what it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 utility. What I don't see is the portion where it summates, because I had in there the value of the salaries and the, oh, there it is up there. Okay, I'm looking at the paper, so I can look up here.
Right.
So of the original 22, thank you. 3 were eliminated because those were just differentials. That brought us down to 19. At that last meeting, prior to this one, there were 9 positions taken out. So we are now left with 10 proposed new positions. And what I did, because I'd heard you all ask before about reflecting the fully loaded value, so I did put the fringe benefits there related to the 10 proposed new budgets. And that's the essence of this budget amendment. The listing that you have here is just showing you all of the changes from within the funds for all of these amendments. Any questions, folks?
Commissioner Campbell?
I do have a question, and I am actually in agreement with Mrs. Kitchens, because I don't want, and I'm gonna say what I need to say, and hopefully you can kind of help me based on the conversation that we had at the CRA meeting and the information that was requested. I would hate for me to backpedal and move forward with accepting this when I had questions about, at least I know for sure, item 6 that's listed up there as the CRA director / Main Street manager, because I believe that with the request, there was some information that should be provided to us prior to me making that decision. So how, I'm very leery to move forward with the accepting of this. And I know that information and that request has been put out there.
So in response to Commissioner Campbell's question and comments, we're operating under a previous directive at a previous CRA meeting where you budgeted for it, but you directed us not to advertise or fill the position because you're not certain if you want a hybrid position. So it's in the budget, it's accounted for.
You said a hybrid position?
Yes, it's a CRA director / Main Street manager is how it's budgeted, but you all, as the CRA board, previously directed staff not to advertise or fill the position until you gave a further directive at a later date. And I do have that information. I distributed a draft to staff internally today to make sure I didn't miss anything, and I'm planning on emailing that to the entire board tomorrow by close of business.
I don't recall that.
I do, and I think there's still the question of filling the position either as a hybrid or as a singular position for one of those roles. That was to be determined at the CRA board after we received the additional requested information. Commissioner Borum?
So if we put it up
I'm
there
sorry.
as that, shouldn't it, and I'm asking, again, this may be legal, because again, I've been vocal about this, and I want to make sure that when I make my decision, I'm making a decision. So it shouldn't have been, if we're moving to look either or, it should be an or instead of a slash, because the way the slash appears, it means that it could be a conjoined one position. So if it's not approved as that, it's not approved at all.
If you all give us a directive at a CRA meeting and then it's ratified at a city commission meeting later to have two positions, there's going to be a budget amendment associated with it, and it'll be in excess of 55,000.
I understand, but if that's going to be, and I asked this at the scene, I'm not trying to mix and mingle meetings, but I want it to be clear even at that moment, what was it that was being asked for? So again, I want to make sure that if I was to move forth with a new position and we don't go forth with what I see, which is one position, because again, we don't know what it is that we want. I just want to know, where should I stand with moving forth and accepting or denying this?
So you still have the previous directive from the CRA 2 meetings back, where you said not to advertise or fill the position because the position has not been finalized. And we're still operating under that directive, no matter what you do with this resolution tonight.
And so in reality, the amount of money that's sitting there is for a position, 55,000, and the directive that is given from the CRA commissioners or the board will determine if it's going to be a CRA director or a Main Street manager or the combined hybrid, because you're correct. The question is whether or not we can have that hybrid position. But from the budgeting perspective, the understanding that I understood was that we keep the budget intact. And so that is keeping that CRA budget intact by having that 55,000 there. And at some point, you will give further direction.
Are you all set, Commissioner Campbell, or do you have further questions?
Honestly, no, but.
And I understand your concern because we
Well,
don't know. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner.
No,
Jones was next. No, Commissioner Bourne was next, though, and I was going to give him the floor. Okay. Commissioner Bourne?
Yes, so yeah, I'm glad they're helping to straighten that out. But the other position that was, I guess, cut, that was not a position that the city manager had put forth along with the other ones, and was that's position number one. That was for the commissioners. And I think the commission had at least 3 asked for legislative aid at least. So by that being the commission's decision, how did that get cut?
So at your last meeting, if you look at your minutes that were approved, there was some discussion. We were asking the commission for direction on either what positions you wanted to keep or what positions you wanted to cut. The commission ultimately asked me what my recommendation was after a lengthy deliberation, and I suggested what positions in the general fund that needed to be kept from my perspective. I did not include that. However, commissioners and Commissioner Borum, I will follow your lead. You simply have to tell us what positions you want to keep or cut.
I understand, but what I had requested was that the positions that you put forth, but you didn't put the legislative assistant for. So that was my issue and concern. You put the rest of them forward, and we had several people on the board that was okay with the legislative assistant, because I know when I do traveling for myself, I know I sit with Sonny spends a minimum of an hour, 15, hour 20, just booking a simple airfare or a hotel reservation. That's just one thing. See out there against how many ever commissioners and the mayor here, she could spend an entire day just doing booking, not let alone the other things that we are involved with. So that's why I put in for this request to at least have and assistant, and then this is funding that this was already funding that we had from Commissioner Campbell had put in for the youth ambassadors. This money came from the youth ambassadors. It didn't come from out of our regular budget. So I don't see how you'll want to cut that one. That's one I want to stand on. I don't know how the rest of the commission feel, but these are the funds that came from the youth ambassadors. I think we had $25,000 in that account. And Commissioner Campbell was okay. He said, okay, we would, he was good with letting the commission have a legislative assistant.
Commissioner Jones.
Well, we could just say, put it back in. We want it back in. Would that kill that?
Something has to come out, and that's, yeah, something.
Yes, I think I would like to make a motion to let's put that back in, because again, that was not a position that city manager had put forth. That's something that funding that we already had in place, that we moved from one funding to another, the 25,000 for the youth ambassadors, in what the commission interest was. So.
Right. I agree with you, Commissioner Boyle. I realized that it was moved as well. And as far as directions, we talked about that CRA Main Street director in the past. I think a couple of people spoke strongly against it. We had folk come up here in our CRA board meeting, and that line item keep coming up, even though we said, put that, it's in the budget, but let's not put it as a line item, because I knew it was going to come right back as soon as we approved the budget. And it did. And if you guys remember, I said it. So, and it's in front of us right now. So what are we going to do? Are we going to approve it with the, pardon me?
Sorry, go ahead.
That's not a legal question, is it?
No,
okay.
I stepped out, so I missed if we have a motion on the floor in a second. I apologize for stepping away.
We never.
Ms. Colley finished.
Something is missing.
Ms. Colley had presented her information, and there was discussion being asked. There was not a motion on the floor yet.
Commissioner Jones, do you mind if I offer something up as a suggestion related to the CRA director, Main Street manager?
Sure.
If this is a major hiccup for the commission, we can just remove it. If the CRA ultimately decides to create a position and advertise for it, we'll just bring a budget amendment back forward to put it back in the budget. I don't want to hold up all of these other necessary changes for the entire city budget on that one item. It's not that big of a deal for me if you don't want to consider the CRA director, Main Street manager in the budget at this time.
I will move to do that and add the legislative aid back in as it was originally. So I don't know
That's a
what
different
everybody,
funding source, though. So,
but it was up there.
You have a motion.
we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I think we have further discussion.
Commissioner McCaskill.
Just want to ask a question about the legislative aid. So that legislative aid salary will be the $25,000 that we motion to move in. That's the salary that they'll receive.
It was an original amount that was slightly different. It was 28,600 from my memory.
So it'll be the 25,000 that Commissioner Campbell said, and in addition to an extra $3,000.
Yes, ma'am.
So then the discussion came up when I brought up the salary study, when we decided to look at the amount that other commissioners were being paid, as well as the perks that other city commissioners received. Remember that extensively we discussed that. So I just want to remind the commission of that we talked about our salary compared to other city commissioner salaries with populations that's similar to ours, the perks that they had, and then us adding a legislative aid to it. So with that being said, I want to remind you all of that. And again, I'm going to stick to my decision with going with the nay with that.
Commissioner Boyle.
Basically, I think we spent a lot of time on the commissions, and that was a moot point because again, that was something that had been passed prior to which it shouldn't have been a discussion. It was a scrivener's error. And so all of a sudden now we're focusing on commission salaries, like, and it's not a salary, basically, it's a stipend to help us with all of our costs associated with it. But while we're on that, we should have spent a little bit of time, I think, looking at all of everybody's salary, our staff's salaries in conjunction with other people in our Northeast area and across the state, so that we make sure that our staff is getting paid what they need to be paid as well. So we should have spent a little bit of time additionally looking at other staff's salaries across the state, not just particularly focusing in on the commission.
This was before my time, but wasn't there an extensive study done, taking all of those things into consideration?
Yes, ma'am.
I think we're losing focus to what we actually have at hand. I think the conversation that's been brought up is not a conversation that we should be having during this time. I think there was actually where we're headed. And I made motion with the mayor, so she did give me the opportunity to speak, just so that we're clear that there was a motion, we were headed to a motion. And so I want us to make sure that we stay
on task. Commissioner McCaskill has been waiting patiently. Go ahead.
I appreciate that. And all due respect, I'm not focusing just for this discussion. I'll make this very brief. Just not focusing on the salary, but it was because of the salary study that it was brought up, and additional perks that we receive as commissioners is the why I brought that up. So I'm not focusing on the salary, not that we're getting paid more, but included in the salary study is what we all receive in addition to our salary as perks as commissioners. So I just want to bring that up. And again, my feelings as the legislative aid.
So I would suggest restating the motion.
That's what I was going to ask for, because I kind of got lost in the shuffle. Who made the motion?
Commissioner Jones.
Commissioner Jones, could you restate the motion, please?
I forgot what I said.
He stated that.
But I know what I meant. So here it is.
I heard what you said.
Maybe Ms. Krantz has recorded.
Motion by Commissioner Jones to remove the CRA director, Main Street manager, and put the legislative aid back in.
Right. It was second by Commissioner Bowen, right?
I
Yes.
second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposition?
Nay.
Nay.
Pass 3-2.
Right. And we're still going to need a motion to adopt the resolution with.
I'll
the
make a
changes.
motion that we adopt the resolution 2023 R249 with the amendments.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, did you on to regular business?
Madam Mayor, do you mind if we take item 7 after some of this other regular business? We've got some individuals in the audience. I don't know how long the discussion and deliberation regarding the city manager search is going to take.
Okay, so we're going to bring the city manager search discussion to the end of the regular business agenda, correct?
If that's the commission's will.
Is that acceptable?
We had this discussion before, but
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Is it acceptable to bring it to the end? Go ahead, I'm sorry,
Go-
Commissioner Barnes.
you're the chair, so it's
ultimately up to you.
You managed to order and for the most part.
Do you have a motion to modify the agenda, but to bring the discussion on the city manager search from number 7 to basically number 7 at the end of the regular business discussion?
Well, I'll make a motion to move item number 7 to number 12.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition?
We didn't have there's a quick discussion that I would like to note for this. In the event that moving forward, that we have any discussion, if we want to use this as a example of moving forward, that we put all discussion and updates at the end of all regular business so that we would stay consistent and we would not have to make any modifications to agenda moving forward.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Noted. Thank you, sir. So on to item 8,
Number 8.
Ms. Krantz.
Ms. Krantz?
Thank you. Item 8 is resolution 2023 R250. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Palatka, Florida, authorizing the purchase and sale of real property located at the Airport Industrial Park, or authorizing staff to pursue the release of the old abandoned runway property from Federal Aviation Administration pursuant to the rezoning of parcel 0310264001310020 from C2 to M1 zoning and providing for scrivener's errors.
So moved.
It's not the appropriate
No.
time.
Not yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
I'll do
okay.
my
It's okay.
Staff report
It's okay.
quick.
We're
Ms.
learning.
So we're all learning. It's all okay.
Ms. Krantz, would you mind putting up the aerial exhibit, please? While Ms. Krantz, oh, she's quick. Thank you. You're all aware, as part of the approved budget, we have set the public works construction budget at 3 million. We have been working on developing the public works facility on the 7.6 acre site that's pictured in yellow on the left-hand side of the screen. Just to be completely upfront, I think you all know this, it's on the record multiple times. With the existing program, we were going to have to make significant cuts to get down to that $3 million budget, almost to the point where it wasn't going to be achievable and we wouldn't be able to give them the facility that they need. However, there was an individual that owns the property that is depicted, the 2 or 3 large buildings immediately to the top or north of that red 6.9 acre parcel that reached out to the city about their intent to develop their sites within this industrial park. Those conversations led to a discussion about a potential land swap, which would square up their properties and help with their proposed development. And also, they entertained the idea of selling the property depicted in that light blue or turquoise color, the 1.5 acre and 2.9 acre site. So what we've arrived at is we're lucky to have in front of us an agreement that's mutually beneficial to both parties. One where we can see continued economic development from the private sector in the industrial park immediately adjacent to the airport and the business park. And one where we can achieve and acquire 17,500 square feet of metal buildings and an additional acreage adjacent to the proposed public works site. This will leave in excess of about $1 million for the build out of their offices and site. And if you read the summary, you'll see that there are some advantages to locating it there versus the original 7.6 acre site, because we'll be able to obtain a significant amount of the old abandoned runway, which connects Kaylarkin Drive and the road that runs into the business park. I think that this is a good agreement. It gives us 90 days. It also gives me the authorization to extend because we will have to go through a very similar process with the FAA and the Airport Advisory Board to update the airport layout plan and request release of those properties depicted in red and yellow, which is consistent with the development and intent of the city from the late 80s when they started to develop this business park on the old abandoned runway. Another advantage to this is, which it's not depicted here, and I apologize, but that parcel, that trapezoid shape that is bounded by the red 6.9 acre parcel on the right-hand side and the runway to the right and the bottom of the screen, you can kind of see it. There's a blue line depicting an easement and then a lighter blue area. Sonny, scroll down. It may actually be there. It is there. Thank you. So the individual that owns those buildings would be trading or selling that 12.4 acres to the city. So we would end up netting a 25.3 acre site immediately adjacent to the airport for proposed on through the fence airfield development or off airfield development. That, in my opinion, is a huge win for the future potential development of the airport or the business park. That concludes my presentation. I think we have representatives here from the seller, if you have any questions of them, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
And we also have a couple of individuals here for public comment. So if the representatives want to come up first, and then we'll open it to public comment.
Jeremy Alexander, 134 Timber Lane, Palatka. Appreciate the commission for their at least consideration of this proposal. I appreciate staff, Public Works, new city attorney, and also interim city manager Mr. Griffith for their work. Come up with a solution. Typically, our city has been constrained by our budgets, but not by our passion. Well, Palatka, definitely not Public Works. So I appreciate their approach toward the solution, and I'm actually here to address any questions that on this commission may have. But appreciate the partnership. Look forward to meeting.
Mr. Douglas, do you have anything you want to contribute?
I'm here on behalf of the seller and the legal question about the contract itself.
Okay.
City attorney. Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, I'm going to open the floor to public comment. Ms. Kitchens? Okay, thank you. Did you have something, Commissioner Jones?
I would like to have our Mr. Yule come up and speak on it. I mean, the airport is not something we deal with all the time. So with him being our director out there, I would like to hear what he has to say about it and the future plans of the Palatka Airport Authority. Do it line up? Are we where we need to be with this kind of deal?
Appreciate it. Through the chair, Commissioner Jones. So, this project is consistent with our ALP or airport layout plan. It was designated as land for release. In terms of development, our focus is actually on the other side of the airport. When things get, I guess, maxed out to a significant level, 10 years, 20 years down the road, then we'll probably go to this side. But having the additional property would be more valuable as a buffer, noise buffer. So I don't see any alarming, issues with this opportunity here as it relates to the airport.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Yeah, I do have some more.
Okay.
And it's just so that the public will be aware. And me too. So we're getting all this property. What are we going to plan to do with it?
Which specific parcels, Commissioner?
Well, you just said that it will give us more parcels. I think it was 12.4 acres in addition to, you mentioned in addition to a few minutes ago. And so as forward thinking, I don't want us to just get that property. I want us, what are we going to do with it? That's what I would like to know, other than Public Works. I mean, that's more than enough of Public Works. But
Yeah, Public Works will not develop or have any use on that 12.4 or the 13-acre site to the north of that. That's between the 6.9 and the 12.4. If you look at your airport layout plan, you'll see that it provides a whole range of potential development opportunities. Yul, do you want to kind of give some examples of end uses that we could see there?
So looking at the block here, a parcel, the focus is inside the fence.
Mhm.
Okay, so, again, we are focused on a couple twofolds. One is development, and obviously two, since our activities out there has increased over the years, a buffer, looking at the current ALP or airport layout plan, this would be focused on more of a buffer. Now, we are in the process of updating those plans. And obviously over time, things change, trends change, opportunities change. A lot of those areas may be shifted for highest and best use. But at this point, as your airport manager, having it, no one is living on it, it's a noise buffer, and that's ideal. But on the opposite side of runway 35, which is where this is located, that's where more your focus development is going, your corporate hangar developments.
Right.
So on your approach on 27 running along Moody Road there, you know, running along the wood line there is where your major aerospace development is going to be occurring.
Just wanted to hear from you.
Okay,
Thank you,
I
sir.
appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
Any further questions? We need a motion to adopt.
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution 2023 R250.
I second.
Motion is. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, unanimous. Approval. Thank you. Okay, number 9, discussion and direction, commission special event funds.
I would like to make a statement.
Sure.
If we are going to be consistent and we move things around and we have people that are in the audience, I ask that we address all citizens that have come, that have something on the agenda prior to us having our discussions.
Okay, so moving number 10 up.
So again, we just need a motion to
I'll
amend
make
the
the
agenda.
motion that we amend the agenda to address item 10 for discussion.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. Okay, on to number 10. Discussion of the business tax receipt process requested by Mr. Clark. Ms. West?
My understanding was this was an opportunity for Mr. Clark to address the commission.
Mr. Clark, please just give us your name and address.
I ain't signed no paperwork. And then I asked him for his paperwork. Since July 5th. And I mean, I asked him for his paperwork 6 months. I ain't got it yet.
Madam Mayor, I'm being told that the audience cannot hear Mr. Clark. If you would turn on the microphone, please.
Is the microphone up? I'm sorry, Mr. Clark, you have to hit the button. Is it on? Sorry, could you repeat that again? We're so sorry, please.
On June 26th, you had somebody come here, Neves Traves. He come in here and change ownership to my business. I ain't signed no paperwork, no nothing. On July the 5th, I come in here and I asked Renee Brown and Lisa Wash, what's the process of shutting down the business? They told me just go up there and close the business and come back and sign the paper. I came back and signed the paper. But here go where the fault come in that they already know the BTR being changed. Luckily, I called the police. If I didn't call the police to come up there, that's armed security in there. I'd have got shot. What would you told my family?
Does anybody have any questions of Mr. Clark?
I'm asking you, man.
I'm not an attorney. Again, we're going back.
This ain't about no attorney. This way your workers put my life in jeopardy. I asked them what was the process to close that business down. They told me to go close the business down and come back and sign the paper. They know I did not have no BTR. They transferred the ownership of the business.
I'm going to have to defer to Ms. West because I don't have the legal background to
Ain't no legal
respond to you,
background.
frankly.
But how can your workers put me in danger?
Ed, Commissioner Campbell?
I think, and as we move to make sure that we respect and we get somewhere, that I believe on the agenda, it says the business tax receipt process. So I think it would be advantageous if we understand the process first, and then it would allow us to properly entertain any questions that may come as a result of Mr. Clark and what we've been presented by staff from the police department and from the city. So I would like to hear the process first and then allow Mr. Clark to ask or direct any questions so that we won't have to bounce back if we don't have to, based on the process that has been presented.
Sure. So, and I'm referring back to the memorandum that I drafted to the city commission dated September 21st, where the code section 78-163, that's the application for a business tax receipt. And 78-165 is for the transfer of a business tax receipt. And it does require for a transfer, not for the initial application, notification to any existing business owner of the application or transfer prior to approval by city staff.
Now, can I just ask a question?
Yes.
And I'm not appearing to be, but I want to, if we can break it down and ask questions as we go, I think that would probably.
That's fine, I think. 'Cause we
So
know the-
my question now would be, was he given that courtesy or that proper notification in which you just stated?
For a transfer, he was not given notice on the transfer. As I noted in the memorandum, I believe that that was a Scrivener's error because it was a new application. But there was not notice provided to Mr. Clark. The form received by city staff, there was a check mark back in July for a transfer. Under the code, the staff was supposed to provide notice to the existing business owner, which would be Mr. Clark, of that transfer of the BTR.
So my question with the Scrivener's error, and again, I'm just wanting to break this thing down. A Scrivener's error is generally a mistake that is made on a document that we catch later on. But if the process that led up to that point wasn't executed properly, it's not a Scrivener's error, it's just a messed up mistake because we did not do it.
That is certainly one way to view it, the way that.
And at this point, I'm just asking yes or no based on policy as we go back. I just want to make sure. I don't want to know based on what I want to know based on what's implemented now. He was denied the act. He was denied he did not receive the proper notice based on what we have implemented policy as of now. It's not a Scrivener's error. Scrivener's error is a mistake that is made to a document or something that we catch later, not to something that we neglected to do.
Right. The issue here was that he did not actually have a valid lease. So it was a new business tax receipt that Gold Rush was applying for, which under our code does not require notice. So that is why I characterize this as a Scrivener's error on the form. The wrong checkbox was checked. It was not supposed to be a transfer of BTR. It was supposed to be a new application.
But I still don't understand how we utilize Scrivener's error when even if it was the wrong box checked, that means we neglected to do our research prior to it getting to that point of the application. So again, I want us to make sure as we go through this, we be completely transparent. So if there are things that we need to address staff-wise, that we are adult enough to admit where we are wrong. And as of now, in the very beginning of what's been stated, we are wrong.
It is my legal opinion that that is not the correct conclusion because it was a new application that did not require notice.
So if somebody else was to come in with a new application and when they're in the same, are we going to deem that a Scrivener's error, or are we going to say that was a mistake that we just simply made?
Yeah, I do believe that the wrong box was checked on the form. It was not a transfer of a BTR. It was a new application because the existing BTR was not actually in existence. It was not a valid lease. So it was supposed to be a new application, not a transfer.
How you gonna say
for the questions?
How you gonna say it's not a
It
transfer?
didn't, but
A transfer of BTR, you can look at your receipt that you gave him, it's a transfer BTR and it got his name under it. So how? So if it's ain't transfer BTR, you say it's a scrivener error. So I guess you messed up on the paperwork and in the computer.
Sir, please keep in mind, this all happened months before I came on board.
That's the case, but also we can't use that as an excuse.
Of course
This is
not.
an
Of course
opportunity
not.
for us to correct what it is, because I don't want this to happen. It has happened to Mr. Clark. I don't want this to happen to someone else.
Commissioner Campbell, Mayor, may I
Yes,
add
please.
something? So even if someone doesn't have a BTR, the characterization that someone loses a business, an actual ownership interest in a business because of a transfer of a BTR is false. I mean, we do not have any authority when it comes to his leasehold interest or ownership interest in the premises or the business. So it's kind of a moot point. I will acknowledge that staff, when they received the application, made an error in entry, but it was not a transfer once they did a final review and they finalized the documents. It was a new BTR, it was a new applicant, new name, and they produced a lease documenting that they had a leasehold interest in the premises.
Can you tell me when you finalized the documentation?
Yes. I believe we've submitted you that documentation before, included in your public records request, sir.
You took from. This happened June 26th. You sent them an email on July the 31st. And you put on you asked them, was all errors correct on him? Y'all had some error. You showed where they needed a LLC and they Florida, the EIN number. Right now today, that place is ran illegal. It ain't got no LLC on the building and he ain't got no EIN number. And right here, you say that it was 2 months, you said there was no errors, y'all scraped it and y'all certified. So everything's still on that paperwork. Y'all took my business and you still trying to tell me y'all didn't.
Again, we did not take anyone's business.
You signed the BTR over. Once you signed the BTR over, I cannot get that business because it's a transfer of ownership. So what do that mean? Everything in there, it belongs to them now, don't it?
It's a notation on the application that would affect the transfer of a BTR, but it was not a transfer. I'm going to conclude my comments at this time.
Commissioner Warren.
Well, my understanding, I thought it was like a month. Was it a month left on the lease? From what I understood?
They telling me I ain't signed the lease agreement. That was 2 years ago. I done paid taxes on that. I done came in here and paid over $10,000 worth of tax. If they saying I ain't signed the lease agreement, why I ain't get the same courtesy that they gave them?
That becomes a legal civil.
That is
civil issue.
between the landlord and Mr. Clark.
If the landlord, you gave them courtesy, you gave them a courtesy call, so I ain't entitled to one?
And again, this is in the memorandum that I previously drafted, just chronologically outlining all the events that have happened. Back in July of this year, Mr. Clark signed a written statement requesting that his BTR be canceled. This was done by city staff.
Mr. Clark, please let her finish first. Excuse me.
This was done at the request of Mr. Clark by city staff, and there is signed documentation to that effect. Again, this is a civil matter between the landlord and Mr. Clark. And by all means, he should consider hiring legal counsel to pursue whatever cause of action he may want. Getting back to your point, Commissioner Campbell, about the implementation of the existing code on the transfer, I agree that we need to make sure that the existing BTR holders are provided with adequate notice and that needs to be documented. So the policy exists, it's implementation of that policy that we need to work on. And I agree that can
That's
be
why I think
improved.
the conversation, I've always performed on the assumption that some of the tough conversations yield positive results. So of course, we may be squeezing a lemon or an olive, as they said, but eventually we're going to get lemonade and oil. So I want to make sure that we as staff, we as commissioners, when we engage with our citizens, that we be mindful of how we respond to things. Because again, these are our citizens, these are our constituents, and we have a due diligence to make sure that we address any concerns that they may have. And again, his concerns are very much valid, and I did not want those to be swept under the rug, because as we address your issues, we have to address issues with our procedures and the implementation of them. Because again, I will say it has happened to him. We don't want it to happen to someone else. But if we can yield positive results as a result of what Mr. Clark has went through, I would want to make sure. That's why I'm asking the questions. That's why I'm putting the pressure there, so that we can make sure at the end we have oil, we have lemonade.
I believe that staff has learned the lesson to never check the box on transfer of BTR lightly again. They will always provide notice going forward. That has been made abundantly clear as a result of this incident with Mr. Clark. So we will be careful. The policy is already there within the code. Implementing the proper procedures is now what we need to work on. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to improve procedures.
Commissioner Borum.
And I do sympathize and empathize with Mr. Clark, and that's why I wanted to make sure that in last meeting that he was able to present, as opposed to not being able to address the commission again. So I just want to at least put that on the record.
I have something just reviewing this, and Ms. Clark didn't mention this, but same business, same type of business, but different fees. I guess we can probably answer that question, but.
Yeah, my BTR costed $4,500. Transfer of BTR is $325. You can check the receipts.
Yes, sir.
I believe you.
And then the other thing, to the mayor, to the city manager, to the city attorney, to the chief of police, it ain't now one of y'all still ain't they started.
Have we identified that we made an error?
Yes.
Yes, as I indicated, the checkbox for a transfer of BTR was checked. And under the code, if you transfer a BTR, you must provide notice to the existing license holder.
So how y'all gonna get my business back?
So, and I know it may seem petty, but on behalf of the city, sorry that mistake was made. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And Mr. Clark, I think the resolution, so that the resolution is a civil matter. But again, we wanted to provide you with an opportunity because you have come several times and you have reached out. And I think we owed you a courtesy to have you the time and not be limited to a 3-minute time frame. That's why we made the request that this be put on as a discussion item. But I want to make it clear that as a result of you coming forward, you've shined a light on something that may prevent this from happening to someone else. And again, I will apologize along with Commissioner McCaskill that this has happened and that we had to come to this point. But again, we wanted to provide you that opportunity because you have been consistent in your asking. You have been consistent in wanting to be in a forum that allows you to speak to us as a whole and not as individuals that you, within the meetings that you have been having. We are not privy to any of that conversation that has been taking place in those meetings, but we are privy to what has been brought to us as a whole. And what you have brought to us, I think we as a commission have done our due diligence to make sure that you had the opportunity to speak and give us your side or your perspective of what the matter is. However, we as a commission do have a duty to make sure that we adhere to the legal advice that comes from our attorney. I'm not speaking to staff. I'm not speaking to anyone else outside of what has been presented to us from our legal counsel. So again, we do have questions. We have pressed, but again, ultimately, we do have a duty to make sure that within our legal ramifications that we adhere or at least take in strong consideration what has been given to us by our attorney.
Commissioner Bourne.
Well, again, I do apologize on behalf of the city, and I want to thank you for reaching out the number of times that you did and the guidance that I had from the city in order to be able to even communicate with you. And so that's why I was able to give you the guidance that I was able to give you from a legal standpoint and give you a voice and not have your voice silenced. So again, I want to thank you for coming in your diligence in your pursuit for some form of justice. So again, on behalf of the city, I deeply apologize.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Again, we do apologize for our error, but again, we do not and cannot take your business away from you, and that is a civil issue that you have to address with the landlord.
And I make one more recommendation that if legal would give and open to us the follow-up that is suggested to Mr. Clark in order to bring this to a resolve, and so that we are no longer a part of the equation fully. But again, the suggestion that you've made to him as far as seeking counsel, taking this to the civil matter, I would like to hear him. You give that advice in front of us directly to him. So again, we would only be able to reinforce what has already been stated. Understandable.
You choose.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Clark.
So what you gonna do about my business?
You still have your business. That is.
Madam Mayor, Ms. West, Microsoft.
Oh, sorry. Just so we're clear, a business entity cannot be dissolved by a municipality. None of us have the authority to dissolve a corporation. That is done through the Florida Division of State. Your entity still exists. We have no power over that. This is a business tax receipt issue. I believe I've addressed the procedural concerns that Commissioner Campbell has raised. There's nothing that the city has to do with the business in terms of dissolving it.
So you telling me from 6/26 all the way into the date, I ain't made not 1 cent off of nothing, and you telling me, hey, come on, we fast.
Mr. Clark, I believe I've addressed all of the commission's concerns. There's nothing that precludes you from going to a different venue to continue operating your business. I can put this all in writing again, if it's the commission's will.
So you telling me if I go up there right now, that could be done?
Mr. Clark, she's given you the same response multiple times. Again, she suggested that you obtain legal counsel. The business is still very much there. The operation of where your business, that's between you and the landlord, not the city.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. To number, discussion, directions, commission special event funds.
I want to address that because I don't think when we initially asked the question, I think it came up that, and I'm referring to the item at hand right now, the tree, the festival.
Yeah, festival
It
tree.
prompted the whole process of how we're able to utilize funds. And I think that we are at a place, at least for me now, that I've got enough knowledge and understanding about this. Again, we want to make sure that our funding is utilized to make sure that it's addressed. If we are to give funding, that we want to make sure that it's utilized or it's utilized for the benefit of everyone having access to it. And it's not a limited spectrum of people that will have it. So I'm fine with that. If Commissioner McCaskill wants to move forth with discussion, we can do so.
I'm definitely fine with that. I know that last year, the two of us, I think, participated I don't know if you participated last year, Commissioner Borum. I think that was my first time participating in the process of the Festival of Trees.
I can speak to that.
Go ahead.
Mayor Hill and Commissioner McCaskill participated last year.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I think that prompted the whole thing about how we're able to expend our money. So, and again, I think process have been put into place and we all as a commission had a valuable voice in that process and making it ultimately a procedural thing. So again, I'm fine with it and I don't have to discuss it any further.
But it's on the agenda, so let me ask this question. First of all, what is the Festival of Trees? And we start talking about contributing to it, commissioners' funds. Could somebody elaborate? Because I'm got to talk about it. Good. Can you bring it up? And
I have it up if you'd like me to.
Fine, Mr.
Yeah.
Griffith, please.
All right, so on page 329, you'll see the sponsor registration form. You'll see for $100, it includes a 6.5 foot pre-lit green tree and $50 for a 4 foot pre-lit green tree. Ms. Krantz, where are these trees located?
Last year, they were located at back.
Bex GMC.
And if I may, we do have a representative in the audience. Ms. Kim Daly is here and she can kind of give us a briefing of how the event is and where we are in the process. So I think that we have many of the.
Ms. Daly,
Yes.
let you come up, please.
As well as.
The
her.
sponsorship does not include the decorations of the trees. Those would be separate.
So, yeah.
If you'd like to give us a little information about the event. Could you please give us your name as well?
Kimberly Daly. You need my address. 130 Roy Griffin Boulevard, Palatka. The Festival of Trees, this is actually only my second year. Clifford is here with me as well. This is a fundraiser opportunity for the Christian Service Center.
Thank you.
What the festival actually does is it gives businesses or individuals an opportunity to sponsor and decorate a tree. We had, how many?
We had 53 participants last year. And the festival needed $10,000 to assist families in need that were vetted through the Christian Service Center.
So it is an event that's open for the entire community.
It's open to the public.
so it's individual sponsorships?
Individual
Mhm.
sponsorship.
Anyone that can sponsor a tree. Basically, as was said, it's a pre-lit tree, $50 for a 4 foot tree. We've added 24-inch pre-lit wreaths this year as well. And essentially you pay a sponsorship fee, you come in, you decorate it, and then the public can come in and purchase raffle tickets to win whichever entity, whether it's a 6.5, the 4.5, or the 4 foot or the 24-inch wreath. And then we have a drawing and whoever has the winning ticket wins that tree. If someone happens to win more than one or decides they don't actually want to
have that, they can donate it back and we give them to needy families.
So
And the proceeds from the event will go to the center to assist families.
if I may, Madam Mayor,
Yes,
I
you may.
purchased quite a bit of tickets last year, for example. So if I win a tree or a couple of trees, I like to donate the tree back or give it to a family in need. So that's another way that we can help give back to the community as well.
It's a lot of fun and it brought a lot of excitement to
Yes.
downtown. It was nice to come over the bridge, come into the city, and that was it was lit up. It was just a little magical. We had several people who came through who aren't from Palatka, and they noticed it at night as they passed by the dealership. And Beck Auto Group's been wonderful about hosting us there. The other dealerships don't offer us the big clear windows. But, you know, we moved the dates this year. That's the other thing that did change. So that it would, the trees will be sponsored, decorated, and available for people to come by and see before the parade.
And it's usually a part of families make it a part of their a family event that they stop by and visit the trees, go to the parades. And so it was pretty fun and exciting to see families come out and for us to mingle and talk to families and others that, you know, throughout the night. And there were some other events that took place as well, right? Throughout the process. I think they had baked goods or.
We did. We did have different folks that brought in some snack things that could be sold during the week.
Yeah.
I think it mostly made the salesmen at the dealerships very happy and complaining about some extra pounds that they picked up, but they enjoyed the trees being there. Brought some foot traffic in for Beck to thank them. We also have Santa and Mrs. Claus who will be there, and a photographer that did a lot of beautiful photography for us last year at no charge. It was just a really fun event, kind of pulled the community together and got people involved. We had our first meeting last Friday. And without even putting it out to the public, we had 26 businesses already express an interest in participating this year or so. And we have 50 trees that need to be adopted this year. So.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions?
I would like to get the information so I can see how to participate.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
I would like to ask legal, is that in line with that policy? How we spend that? That's what I want to know before.
Which policy?
Utilization of the commissioner funds. It was previously determined it was.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go with that previous determination. I have not examined it or done legal research to render an opinion, but if it's
even
already
now, it
been.
would be hard to.
Okay, you already have had that done.
Thank you. Okay, any further discussion?
Just a question on that. So when you purchase a tree,
Yeah.
then you guys do all the decorations and all that.
The money just buys the tree.
You have to decorate. The
You have to-
You
donor
have to
that's
decorate the
donating
tree.
the money for the tree has to decorate the tree as well.
Correct.
Donate and decorate.
Correct. D&D.
Okay.
We have trees on hand.
Okay.
And you can select your theme or your colors or whatever you'd like to do with your tree. It's gotten very competitive. We've had a lot of beautiful trees.
I'm not decorating, so.
It's okay. It's okay. We do have access. We usually have a couple of people on the committee who have offered, if somebody says, look, I'll do it, but I don't want to decorate it. And look, we can get somebody to help you out with that if you'd like.
Commissioner McCaskill.
Volunteers that step up and help decorate the tree. I don't want to throw Sunny under the bus, but last year she was very good at helping me out decorating my trees.
Beautiful job
Yes,
last year.
and Staley, they were there. A lot of volunteers in the Putnam County Courthouse.
Out last year, so.
Okay. How do we want to proceed? Are we making a motion to approve this request for the funding or? how-
Motion to approve.
Second, let me see.
You'll need to specify which commissioners want to utilize their fund motion.
To contribute to this.
I'll contribute some from mine, but I gotta figure out how much I have left. I have an event coming up next month.
We haven't, I'm asking just this, I would like to consider after, I don't want to say utilize something. I want to make sure that it's there first. So can we just say giving permission for commissioners to utilize their funds if they so decide and not put a name? I wouldn't want that. That's kind of shooting us in the foot.
You would at least need to specify which commissioners want that authorization.
We didn't do that previously with.
I think it was understood which commissioners would. If you just want to say all commissioners in the motion, that's fine as well.
I have a question, sort of what Commissioner Campbell was saying. If we already had the money allocated, when we go by policy, why would we have to come every time to the commission meeting and ask for us to be able to disperse what we've already agreed to disperse? And we have the funds, and we said, as long as it's along this line, it's we already did that. So why do we have to come back every time?
If you'll see the screen, if a commissioner wishes to propose the expenditure of funds from the commissioner's budgeted special event fund, it's in your policy, so you would need to change policy.
We did it, and I think that we should not have to do that.
Then we have to modify that.
For every, we really do. Because it's already done, we've already approved it.
But at this point, we're here where it is currently as it stands. So we have to move forward on that premise until we do modify it. So with that said,
But we already made the motion, right?
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Yeah.
All commissioners to be able to.
For all commissioners, you'll be able to contribute to these funds. The funds to this cause, I'm sorry.
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Thank you. And since we're on this topic, and we certainly can bring it in front of the commission at the next meeting, Unity Day, Commissioner Jones, I do want to contribute to that, but it's not really on the agenda. Do we want to bring that forward in the next meeting?
You can do that, or if a motion is going to be required, I would suggest putting that on the next agenda, or you can address this during commissioner comments.
Okay. Did we already say that? I don't remember saying that, to be honest, but
It's an approved.
it's an approved,
expense, all right.
correct, but I don't remember saying we would contribute to it. I was just saying I would.
How about we do this?
Okay, let's do
For the
this.
sake of moving on, how about we bring the policy back before the commission so that we can make some additional changes based on conversations that we've had, not only tonight, but in previous, so that we can kind of mainstream.
We don't have to bring it in.
Okay, moving on to the next item, set date for commission workshop regarding charter review.
So in your packet, Ms. Krantz has some proposed dates here. Those are October 30th, November 13th, November 20th, or November 27th. So as soon as the commission approves a date, we will set a draft agenda. But we just need a date and time, commissioners.
So first we have November 14th. What did you say again? Because November 14th and 15th Tallahassee. It's like we have 29th and the 1st in front of us. What were the dates you just gave us again?
October 30th, November 13th, November 20th, and November 27th.
It's a youth ambassadors. It depends on the time.
What should we?
We have a youth ambassadors meeting. Is that? It's on my agenda. It's on my calendar.
Yeah, it's at 5, but I mean, I don't know what time the commission would want. If it's during the working hours or in the evening.
Can we go ahead and move it towards the first of the year? That's too far out. I mean, instead of trying to squeeze it in, I don't think we're trying to get anything We ain't trying to get anything on the ballot.
Right. So if you recall that timeline from the supervisor of elections, realistically, this isn't going to be on the ballot
No, we
until
know
November
that.
of 26. So you're good.
Okay.
So I make a motion that we table this and come back with dates towards the beginning of the year.
Yeah, some dates between January and March are okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second to table.
Sonny has something to say.
I was just going to ask, at your next commission meeting, I intend to bring the commission calendar for next year. Can we go ahead and adopt the commission's calendar for next year and then table this for maybe the meeting after the commission calendar is adopted? So that's in place.
But it doesn't make a difference. If we table it, you will have the calendar and then we'll still be able to.
Yeah, as long as that's in place first. That's all I'm asking.
Okay, so we have a motion. Can we have a second in my, okay, second. All in favor? Any opposition? Thank you. Motion tabled. Unanimously approved. Discussion selection of vendor for team building exercise.
Thank you, Mayor. I believe we sent these out by email in advance of distributing the agenda. But we have 4 vendors that responded to our request for a proposal and quote for a team building exercise. I think you have 4 good proposals. Staff did not do a formal review on this. We are prepared to give you our recommendation just based upon our general discussion. But honestly, we want to follow your lead here and make sure that we are holding the team building event that you all want to hold. So we're looking for direction on if you have any preference of any one of these 4 proposals.
I did review the proposals. My first choice was Akramov, and simply because there was also a follow-up piece to their contract, which the others didn't offer, at least or they didn't see. I did rank them in the order of what I thought were the best options, but that was just me. I don't know about you.
My recommendation would be the one, the local vision, the local government visions, LLC.
At this point, I'll just let it be, city manager's recommendation. I'm not caught up in that. So I'm not gonna be all. Let me see, what's this?
I sent my recommendation via email. I'm trying to find it. I don't have my iPad just went dead. Jonathan, do you have that recommendation that I? Okay, mine was I'm gonna mess up the name.
That was my Akramov.
Yeah.
Akramov is how I'm
Yeah.
pronouncing it. That could be incorrect.
That was my recommendation based on what was presented.
Commissioner Jones.
I actually sent one in that was sent to me. I won't disclose it. And that was a young lady met at in Orlando at our conference. Actually, they were the ones who thought that we probably could benefit from one. And it's I can't pronounce their maybe Dynasty Consulting Services. Got a unique way of spelling it. So I mean, I don't think we could go wrong with any, because I think the team building would be beneficial to staff.
And us as well.
This team up here, and I'm thinking they could add value to us, so it wouldn't matter to me, but that would be my preference. What do you say, city manager? What's staff recommendation?
was some consensus, the department heads liked the local government visions proposal. Mainly because they used Myers personality assessment to help people understand that we don't always understand how people prefer to be communicated with and to help identify some of those barriers. However, I will say you'll see that same thread in all of these proposals. So again, I don't think you can go wrong. Mr. Ackermoff did personally come to see me and visited town. I was impressed with that. We had a very lengthy conversation about this. So if you were to ask me my top two, I would say local government visions.
Okay, now we're down to two. I think.
And they're very comparable in price too.
Are we planning on doing on-site or off-site?
Offsite.
Hopefully.
But it's
Yes.
going to be public.
Yeah, we'll have to notice it. The idea was to potentially hold it at a location like the golf course or somewhere that's not City Hall or Price Martin, something a little more informal. Yeah.
Like Top Golf or something like that? Yeah, you gotta really.
Well, I mean, you got my vote.
Let's do something different. Think outside the box.
Well, don't take the money out of the county. We got some beautiful places in Putnam County. We found a nice venue in Putnam.
Name it.
But they're laughing, but I do think when people think of retreats, like we do want to make it as interactive and fun as possible. A lot of times when we do assemble as a collective unit, it is always so just tight, just to leave it at one word. So I would be more interested in making sure that as we select a venue, that we look at something that offers that ability to be a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more comfortable as we proceed forth with this, because again, we want to make sure that we have everyone on board and we want to make sure that they're comfortable. We want to make sure that the scenery, we all know when you go into something that's a little bit more lax and something that is a little bit more scenic, you tend to be a little bit more relaxed. So as we giggle and as we laugh, I think that is definitely something to take in consideration as we choose a venue.
Okay, with all that said, what further direction? We had the two companies that had the most people considered as an option. I don't know, does the city staff and you want to narrow it down to one of the two? Because as everybody said, we just need to, whoever is hired has the experience, will do a good job, and it's something that we could benefit from.
Like I heard that they all can do a good job.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
From the consensus up here and what the city manager stated. Well, I mean, the top two, just put them in a thing and just draw either one. I'm good either way.
Well, let me just kind of update my
Price
comment then.
comparable.
I mean, I rely on a highly qualified staff, and me telling you my top two, their top one was local government vision. So if you're looking for my recommendation, I would go along with what the rest of my
So I'll
staff
make the
suggested.
recommendation that we go along with staff, since they have vetted this process and they have had at length discussion, that we go with the recommendation that you have brought before us today with local voices.
Second.
Was that was a motion and a second?
I think that was.
It was.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thanks.
And that's for Top Golf, right?
Yep.
Top golf.
Yeah.
Hey, release some of your frustration.
Location be Top Golf.
Top golf. Location, Top golf. They had accommodations.
Okay. Thank you. Now on to the city manager position discussion. As we all know, interim city manager Griffith applied for the position as well and submitted his resume. With that in mind, Ms. Jones, would you like to come up?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to give you just to receive a letter that I received yesterday from Sladen Consultants. And we address to you. And And in that, he's really stating his recommendation as well as what the mayor just stated. Our interim city manager did apply for the position of city manager. So he's really just stating his position and his recommendations for your review, for you all to decide. And it also states that all of the applicants that have applied, I do have copies in the HR department for your review if you'd like to look through them.
My question, and I'm not against the recommendation. Why is he not telling us this? We paid this man a pretty decent amount for him to relay something to us via a draft document. In our previous, when we've had headhunters, they've always made themselves available to the commission so that we're able to address or ask any questions that may be, why is it different in this instance? And it's not directly to Mr. Griffith, so I want to make sure that we've had our conversation. But I just want to make sure as we go with process and procedures and protocol, why is he not here for us to ask him questions with regards to, because this is really not a update overall. I mean, it's a recommendation, but
Right.
I would be more.
So I think Mr. Griffith did ask Sonny to send Mr. Slavin a Zoom link.
Madam Mayor Commission, I did speak with Mr. Slavin. I did send him a Zoom link. He advised me he would not be present at this meeting. At that time, it had not been on the agenda and he had not had previous discussions that this would be the meeting he would present at.
Well, and yes, because we did request that he either by Zoom or otherwise be.
I mean, that's not good. And that's not a good enough
Yeah, I
answer.
know.
When
We did make that.
we've paid this man a great deal of money.
And he has, to back up a little bit, just to be clear, he has received his first payment. He will not receive any further if we don't move forward with considering all the other candidates, if we do an in-house hire. But you're right, I agree with you, just to be clear though.
Sonny. That letter came through the proper channels. Can she read that caption on the letter?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, if it pleases the commission. Mayor Roberta Correa and members of the City Commission of the City of Palatka, City Hall, 201 North Second Street, Palatka, Florida, 32177. I'm sure we all know the address. Care of Virginia Jones, Human Resources Generalist of V Jones at Palatka-FL.gov. Subject, City Manager Recruitment. Dear Mayor Correa and members of the City Commission, the City Manager recruitment period is still open. However, the advertised first review date was September 29th, 2023. As of today, Slavin Management Consultants, SMC, has received 19 resumes. 2 of the 19 have been withdrawn. Resumes for the remaining 17 have been provided to the city and are available for review in the Human Resources Office. Certainly, there are qualified applicants among the group. However, I am not comfortable that we have a sufficient number of them to move forward with the process at this time. I am having a difficult time attracting more candidates. The complicating factor is that there's an internal candidate. Jonathan Griffith is well regarded by his peers and is presumed by many to have an inside track on the job. With him in the mix, the position became less attractive, particularly to prospects who are currently employed. For this reason, we lost 2 applicants. It is also the reason that others told us that would not apply. I think you meant they would not apply. It is seriously inhibiting SMC's ability to recruit additional qualified candidates. My assessment of Jonathan Griffin is that he is well qualified and is a very viable option to become your next city manager. John clearly meets the commission's qualifications. Under any conditions, he would be on the SMC's candidates shortlist. My recommendation is for the commission interview, seriously consider Jonathan and come to a decision about him before interviewing others. Should he be selected, I think he will serve the city well. If he is not selected, the internal candidate issue goes away. If the commission agrees with my recommendation, let me know and I will begin the background work on Jonathan right away and assist the commission to arrange the interview. My best, Slavin Management Consultants, Robert E. Slavin. And it has his address.
I just feel like we wasted money.
And I got a problem with his writing too. I mean, he clearly, I mean, I don't know who he has doing this review before it goes out, but yeah, I'm not happy with the guy. I mean, he can't come here and talk to us, and we sent money. We gave, how much we paid so far?
I would have to pull it in ADG if you'll give me 2-3 minutes to pull that up.
I know it's 20, I think it was 20-something thousand.
Like
that we was
24.
So
Isn't it? The overall.
The overall,
And the
but how much?
reason I said this, because I was the one who made the recommendation that we keep this as an in-house hire from the first place. And it was brought to the commission and we had lengthy discussion as to what it was that we desired if we were to move forth with the headhunter. So I feel again that we've wasted a lot of resources where that money could have gone elsewhere. And I'm just stating my opinion, so to be for the record. Again, Mr. Griffith and I have had our conversation, but again, I want to make it known that I am totally against the way that this has been presented to us. In the event that Mr. Slavin, however you say the name, could not be before us in person, we should have considered giving him the opportunity to provide us with his calendar, to provide us with his schedule. So again, that I'm more interested in how we're going to proceed forth with those that we do have that did not withdraw their application, and how it's going to be communicated to them in the event we do or we do not move forward with what has been presented by Mr. Griffith. Again, we've had our conversation, but I want to make sure that we as a body hold this man accountable for what we've paid him to do. And as of now, I don't feel as if he's given us what we've paid him to do at least. So that's just me and that's just my opinion.
What have we found out what we've paid him to date, just for clarification?
Just got logged into the system.
Okay.
Sorry, this is a brand new computer.
I'm adding together the total now, Madam Mayor.
What does it matter?
Almost.
If I may
Well, that was a
ask.
question asked.
If I
Madam
may ask.
Mayor, presently, there are 2 checks written to Slavin Management Consultants in the total amount of $11,733.07. No, sir, the total amount of the 2 checks, 11,733. That number.
And he delivered this in the forms of a letter. In my opinion, it's very distasteful.
we can, is there a way that we can maybe reclaim the money based on the performance?
I mean, just even with what's presented to us on the agenda, it says a city manager search discussion/update.
Right.
What we received was a recommendation. That's not a true update if we have questions, because who are we to direct our questions to if the person who was the headhunter is not here to address or answer the questions? So again, as we move forward, nothing against Jonathan at all. And I put this on the record, Jonathan and I have spoken. So it's nothing against you. It's about what we paid for, what we've gotten, and where we are with what's been presented to us. I am totally against how it's been presented to us. And if I have to make something, I will make the recommendation that we allow him the opportunity. He can't redeem himself, but avail himself to be able to come and answer any questions that we may have as a commission as a whole.
Commissioner Jones?
Commissioners, I asked this question as I asked for the city manager search update. Did we give them the parameters to give us an update a certain amount of time? I asked on several occasions to have an update on where we are. I reached out to the company and spoke to Mr. Slavin, and he said he had sent in 10 resumes at the time. I gave direction that I wanted to see all the resumes that come in. I haven't seen, only resume I've seen is Jonathan. And then when he sent it to me, the other week. I haven't, I'm just saying, I haven't. I
Oh,
said it
yeah,
in this
Mr.
meeting.
Slavin, if he said he sent 10, all 19 resumes came in today. Date of that letter, I printed them off. So, yeah.
No, and he did not say he sent them to you.
Okay.
He said he sent it to Mr. Griffin. He did say that. And you know, I told you this. This is nothing I didn't say before. He said that he sent in 10 resumes to Mr. Griffin. At that point, I had concerns about the routing of the resume. They never got to me. That's the part of the routing, not that he got them. Because at that point, Mr. Griffith wasn't interested in the job, so I had no problem with that. But entering into the job as a candidate and receiving the resumes, that's a conflict I would see. And as the letter states that it's a deterrent for other applicants. And it would be hard to apply for a job to the city assistant city manager. That's pretty much the gatekeeper. Pardon me?
I say, well, how other candidates, how would other candidates be privy to who applied?
No,
that's just a question like that. I think that's a
And that's a question to Mr. Slavin.
It's documented that it's been a deterrent of 2 of the people who, so there is a flaw in the process, and we have a duty to make sure that we get to the bottom of it.
That's a question to Mr. Slavin.
It's a huge flaw in the process. As we were talking about policies earlier, practices earlier, we got to have a policy that, right, if it don't pass a spill test, it stinks. We got to do better. And we went through this a few months ago, get to the door with who we thought was 2 good candidates, and then here's come some information at the last minute, 12th hour. I just think that we, as a commission, we can't take the stance that we want to be hands off. This is our only hire, and I think we need to be active in the hire and make the decision. That's our duty. And that's all I'm gonna say about it. But you guys know that we have to make this hire. And whoever we choose, just be able to live with it. And this is no personal, this don't have anything to do with Jonathan, but at the beginning, Jonathan did say he did not want this job. When he was appointed to the assistant city manager position, the then city manager, Mr. Holmes, said that Jonathan had no desire to be a city manager, and we made that decision to make him assistant city manager. So the things that let's take responsibility ourselves. And I'm going to say it, that I think that this process is well tainted, and we cannot, in the middle of a process, switch gears and just nobody will want to work here if we continue to do that. So that's my voice, and I'm gonna move it on to you.
Okay, Commissioner McCaskill,
I
please.
just have 2 questions. In the beginning of this process, did we not ask, each of us asked for the applications as they came in, the resumes as they came in?
We did, we did ask
Okay.
for the applications.
Did you, and my question is directed to HR. Is that okay, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Did you
Miss
not
Virginia,
ask-
could you come up, please?
Okay. Did you not ask for these prior to today? Did you
This
just
is-
ask for these today?
Okay, as stated, I think he believed he started receiving them on the 29th. I believe that's what he stated in the letter, where he opened it up and he sent them to me. Now, his communication until Mr. Griffith made himself a candidate in there was towards Mr. Griffin and the mayor, which was acceptable. Once Mr. Griffith became a candidate, he started speaking more with me and more with the mayor.
That's another question, Madam Mayor.
Sure.
When did Mr. Griffin make that known that he wanted to become a candidate? On what day was that?
I was gonna look up the email.
Please, okay. Okay, because I don't have a copy of his.
September 18th to the 22nd. I do not recall the actual day, but I called him to let him know that I was considering making application by the deadline, which was the following week. He then encouraged me that I was considering that I make an application. and that I do it soon so that he can communicate to other applicants. He also encouraged me based upon our experience to apply for the position. I have not received any resumes from Mr. Slavin, and as of that date, I have tried to direct my communications through Ms. Jones so as to not taint the process.
So you said communicate to the other candidates. Exactly what is he communicating to the other candidates? And I'm happy you said it, but I'm kind of disappointed that he would even take a conversation and tell you that he was going to talk to the other candidates. That's a flaw.
As I understand it, Commissioner, a lot of candidates like to know if there's an internal candidate or if the interim is making application for the position. Because a lot of these candidates have existing city manager or county manager positions and they take a significant risk.
And I'm gonna stop you because I don't want you to answer that because that's a question that he should answer. So that, and again, I don't want you to put yourself in a position to further dig or to do anything. So I, as a governing body who oversees you, stop. And again, it's not against, I don't want him to put himself in a position. That further explains my point of having Mr. Slavin needing to avail himself because he never can redeem himself, but he has to avail himself so that we're able to ask these questions and not have to put it on a candidate. So in all, I make a recommendation that we table this, that we allow Mr. Slavin the opportunity to provide us with his availability, more so sooner than later, more so like next meeting. And I prefer to have him in person because I got some stuff I got to say. And I don't want technology to fade out, him click out or do anything. I want him here.
Okay, I will make the call to him, myself, tomorrow. And make sure that at the next commission meeting, his presence is needed here to go over and answer questions that you all
I
have.
have the contract available too.
I actually pulled it up while we were talking.
To make himself available for the questions that you all have in regards to his process of his city manager search.
Commissioner McCaskill.
I was hoping so. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I do have one more question to ask you. You said as soon as you made that information, you made that information available to him. Did you inform HR?
I believe she was copied on the correspondence that I sent with my resume and cover letter.
Any further questions on this? There's a motion to table.
Well, the table, there's no, it's discussion or direction. There's no vote. There's nothing to vote on. This was just discussion and direction. There's no vote. So so in terms of, there's nothing to table because there's no vote. We don't have to, there's not an action item.
So
Well,
One minute.
with my recommendation, since there was a recommendation that was made, I recommend that council and HR make that phone call tomorrow to Mr. Slavin. I'm just feeling at this moment, we need to make sure that legally, yeah. It's a whole lot of just inconsistencies that doesn't sit well with me.
Anything else on this topic?
Right. Well, we need to look at, I would like to review, the contract too, in terms of the contract performance, what Mr. Slavin delivered to us as it relates to what he delivered and the outcome. Do we really want him to come before us if he?
I think he does need to.
Oh, yeah, he has some questions he got to answer.
Okay, so yeah, just let's look at the contract before
We have
this
the
one.
contract.
Commissioner
And
McCaskill.
this is my last question. If we know that he had not fulfilled his part, why does he cut the check?
Ms. Jones, can you explain how you were going to pull up the contract, how that was set up in terms of payment?
Right, because that's the way finance would pay
Correct.
based on how the contract is set up.
That's what I wanted to clarify, but I want it up there so we can see.
So
When I did look at it a moment ago and I see that he was going to submit 3 equal monthly invoices. I'm not certain that performance was tied to the item there, but it does stipulate the amount of 4,573. And that's how we should have been invoiced. So what I would like to do is have the opportunity to meet with accounts payable and determine that we adhere to what's in the contract, if I may.
Okay. And Commissioner Jones asked me my thought, and I think, and we did request that Mr. Slavin be here. He did decline. I think he has to be there. I initially was not in favor of hiring an executive search firm either. We're down that road now. We do need answers to move forward. And certainly it isn't about Jonathan in this case. It's about this contract and service received or not, depending on what he has to say. Commissioner Moore?
Yes, I'm truly, I don't mind hiring a search firm that has done that and they bring forth qualified candidates. I mean, it's been done numerous times, and there's a lot of good search firms out there. It's just something different about this particular individual or this search firm that was in the mix. So because what I don't believe is staff does not have the knowledge, expertise around hiring somebody, a position that they don't even have no knowledge of. So these search firms, they have the resources, they have the knowledge and skills. Something is different about this particular slaving group. So again, I don't want to discard having a search firm, because again, there's a lot of good qualified search firms that will, can get the qualified candidates in, but there's just something a little bit different about this. Because we've done it before.
Well, and that's fine, but because we are here now with this contract.
But I
So
just
we've
don't
gotta
think
get through
staff,
this.
how can staff hire a city manager and that's above their pay grade? I don't understand that.
They wouldn't be responsible for hiring. They would be responsible for advertising and bringing the candidate resumes forward. But at any rate, we need to work with Mr. Slavin. We need to hear from him, and that's the direction we're going in.
I just like to work with the experts, the people who are very well versed, experienced, and qualified in doing so. That's just my 20%.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this topic?
Yeah, I'm gonna say this. So I think as a commissioner, we only have one direct report, and that at this point, interim Mr. Griffin. And I have to agree with Mr. Bourne. I asked for respondents and didn't receive any. It's been 2.5 months. And Mr. Griffith, when I ask for these things, I really would like for you to be more aggressive in nature of getting them, please. And if it was a problem, we should have known about it before tonight. We should have known that it was an issue with this guy. And it's an issue when you get a one-pager like this, and this is almost like generic. And even to the correspondence where we had to send things back, and the grammar was bad, it was poor. So we need to be more attentive. And the biggest question is, I think we need to go ahead and answer it because it's on here. Are we going to start from square one when first Mr. Griffiths wasn't interested in this job? That's what was communicated. And where we go from here, because we could wait till Mr. Slavin comes, but what directives are we going to give here? What directives are we going to?
Well, I think we have to give the benefit of the doubt to Mr. Griffith for applying. Because again, we have the ability to change our minds at any given point. And if he went through the process, we have to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think, again, our questions should be directed at this point to get the representative in to allow us to ask the questions. And then I think your question would be more suitable after we have the conversation with Mr. Slavin, not discrediting your question, but I think, again, if he's gone through the proper process, he is a candidate. Again, we have to give him that, at least give him that until we talk to the person who presented him as the final recommendation.
He did have that option of applying. He applied in the correct time frame, so we have to respect that he is a candidate. And once he did that, he pulled out of the communication with Mr. Slavin, so he didn't taint the system, and that is what we have now. So yes, I agree. The questions are directed to Mr. Slavin first, and we need to get those answers.
So
People can change their minds about.
that's not what I said. It's not him, it's us, our responsibility. So what I'm saying is, are we going to go forth with Mr. Griffin being a candidate? That's what I'm saying. And so we could make that decision now and say, well, yes. And if that's the case, whether we go with Mr. Slavin or whoever, or if we make the decision to bring him in, where are we going with it? Because we could be spinning our wheels, even contacting this guy, if we already know up here, we want to make Jonathan the next.
No,
manager.
I'm not going to allow you to put me in that position.
No, well,
because I'm requesting the application process. You said we, if that's.
We, that's me, everybody.
I don't know if I want him to be the city manager.
However, I'm going back and continue this. So in mid-screen, you know, when you start talking about. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on this topic? Okay, we will move on to public hearings. Ms. Krantz?
I'll just use this lull briefly to remind the commissioners, this is the second reading on these annexations, comp plan amendments for the FLUM and rezonings. Just a reminder that the comp plan changes are quasi-legislative in nature, and the rezonings are quasi-judicial in nature. If you have any questions, just let me know.
Madam Mayor, presenting ordinance number 2023-23, an ordinance of the city of Palatka annexing into the corporate city limits of the city of Palatka certain adjacent territory identified as part of the southeast quarter, the northeast quarter, official records book 764, page 726, parcel 111026400260400704 Elmwood Avenue, contiguous to the boundaries of the city of Palatka, providing for scrivener's errors and providing for an effective date.
Ms. Walsh, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Commissioners, Lisa Walsh, Planning Director. This is a request to annex one parcel that's approximately 0.31 acres in size for the purpose of connecting to the city's water and sewer systems. We'd like to annex it and then amend the future land use from Putnam County Urban Service to City of Palatka Residential Low, and then rezone it from Putnam County Residential Single Family R1 to City of Palatka Single Family Residential R1. It is surrounded by other property within the city limits with one unincorporated parcel to the west. Property currently includes a single family home. Mellon Road borders the property to the north. Elmwood Avenue is east. There are single family residences to the south and a single family home on the unincorporated adjacent parcel to the west, which is also owned by the applicant. And again, the applicant is requesting annexation for the purpose of connecting to water and sewer services.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
Elmwood Avenue, 704.
Yes. Please come up and give your name and address for the record.
Lonnie Brinson, but I'm standing in for my sister, Sophia Brinson Rasher. She owned the property 704 Elmwood and 400 Mellon Road.
Okay, do you have a question? Of the
No,
applicant?
I was just checking to see was the applicant present.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussions? I'm going to open it up to public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment on this topic? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Any further discussion? Somebody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to accept.
Okay.
What is it in concern? Because she just want to know what is it really in concern, because we have a well on the property and then we paid to have the tie into the city. We do have a well on the property.
Okay.
Because it's 2 addresses on that one property.
I can have the applicant speak with city staff. We're about to get a motion to approve, so.
Thank you. So we have a motion. Do we have a second? I'm sorry. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you.
You ain't got to worry about the will no more.
You can just
Catch.
cap the well.
Question. Go ahead, Ms. Krantz.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Also regarding the same property for adoption, I present to you ordinance number 2023-25. An ordinance of the city of Palatka, Florida, providing that the official zoning map of the city of Palatka be amended from Putnam County Residential Single Family R1 to City of Palatka Residential Single Family R1 for the following property: 704 Elmwood Avenue, Palatka, Florida 32177, part of the southeast quarter of the northeast quarter, official records book 764, page 726, parcel number 11102640, 026040, providing for severability, providing for scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date.
So move.
Well, any further information, Ms. Walsh? And the applicants or the applicant's rep stepped out, so I'm going to open.
Would still say the floor
know if
needs to
he
be
went to the
open to
restroom or
public
not.
hearing.
I don't know. I'm just saying he stepped out.
He gone.
He's gone? Okay. Okay, I'm going to open it up to public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment? Seeing none, I'm closing public comment. You had a motion.
Yes, I had a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. Next case next item B.
Presenting to you for second reading of ordinance number 2023-26, an ordinance of the city of Palatka, Florida, annexing into the corporate limits of the city of Palatka, Florida, certain adjacent territory identified as part of the Northwest Quarter Official Records Book 132, page 718, excluding Official Records Book 962, page 15, parcel number 2102640037040, 3819 Reed Street, part of the Southeast Quarter of the Northwest Quarter Official Records Book 717, page 884, excluding Official Records Book 794, page 1358, Official Records Book 962, page 18, parcel number 210264005800010, 3821 Reed Street. Do we have to put 3 addresses in the same ordinance? Excluding Official Records Book 717, page 884, Official Records Book 962, page 18, parcel number 2102640058040, 3825 Reed Street, contiguous to the boundaries of the city of Palatka, providing for scrivener's errors, providing for an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Walsh.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to ask Sunny if I might real quick. We did do the 3 previous ordinances.
No, we did 2
we
as it's
I'm
for
sorry,
second
you're right,
reading.
second reading. It's late. My apologies. Okay, as you mentioned, that this is a request to annex in 2.12 acres of property. The proposed use for the site is classified as a motel. And the proposed future land use will be commercial, and the proposed zoning will be intensive commercial C2. Hotels are a permissible use in that zoning district. It's also in a commercial corridor near the intersection of State Roads 119. So it's right west of the driveway from Lowe's going onto State Road 100.
Formerly known as High Level. Okay. Yeah.
That's correct, yes.
Is the applicant present or the representative? Could you please come up and give your name and address for the record and offer any information you may have? Or answer any questions?
Gainesville, Florida, 16102 Northeast 10th Street. I am the owner, my wife and I, of the High Level, which we have already closed. And I will be applying for a demolition permit to demo the building, clean the land up. I think Putnam County could do without one less bar. So I bought this as an investment. I am talking to Marriott.
Good then.
When they write the check, then it'll be done. But until then, it's discussions. But if I sell the land, it will be to a reputable business. So that's basically all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any further questions? Okay. thank
The
you.
only question, so you're leveling, you're,
Demo.
you want to demo it, you're gonna annex into the city, demo it.
I've already closed the business.
You want to make it level.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna tear it down, clean the property up.
Okay, it's a low level. Okay.
We're already on city water.
Okay.
Okay, that was done before I purchased it. Had I done that, I would have probably annexed it then.
Yes, sir.
Everybody around us is annexed into the city. I don't want to be in the bar business, and I think it's a selling point to clean up the lot.
I just think we're gonna lose tax dollars on that.
Well,
Leveling the
anyway,
bill.
no,
Okay.
well, we don't know that yet. Any other questions?
Make a motion that we
I
accept.
was gonna open up to public
Oh, I'm
comment.
sorry.
And is there anybody here for public comment on this particular item? Seeing none, we'll close. public comment. And I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion that we accept ordinance 2023-26 annexation.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. Ms. Krantz?
Moving on, regarding the same property also
Thank you.
presented to
Thank
you
you.
for second reading. It's the same property. Ordinance number 2023-28, an ordinance of the city of Palatka, Florida, providing that the official zoning map of the city of Palatka, Florida be amended from Putnam County General Commercial C2 to City of Palatka Intensive Commercial C2 for the following properties: 3819 Reed Street, Palatka, Florida, 32177, part of the Northwest Quarter, Official Records Book 132, page 718, excluding Official Records Book 962, page 15, parcel number 2102640 03704 3821 Reed Street, Palatka, Florida, 32177, part of the Southeast Quarter of the Northwest Quarter, Official Records Book 717, page 884, excluding Official Records Book 794, page 1358, Official Records Book 962, page 18, parcel number 2102640 0580010, and 3825 Reed Street, Palatka, Florida, 32177, part of the Southeast Quarter of the Northwest Quarter, Book 241, page 584, Official Records Book 5, page 408, Official Records Book 131, pages 147 and 149, excluding Official Records Book 717, page 884, Official Records Book 962, page 18, parcel number 2102640 0580040, providing for severability, providing for scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date.
So
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Nothing further, Ms. Walsh, nothing further from the applicant. I'm going to open up to public comment. Is anybody here for public comment? Seeing none, closing public comment.
So move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you.
All right.
Ms. Krantz, see? Yes, please.
An ordinance of the city of Palatka, Florida, annexing in corporate limits of the city of Palatka, Florida, certain adjacent territory identified as lots 17, 18, 19, and 20, block F, High Lawn, according to the map or plat thereof as recorded in map or plat book 2, page 49, Fish Public Records of Putnam County, Florida, parcel number 11, 10, 26, 3770, 0060, 0170, 204 High Lawn Avenue, contiguous to the boundaries of the city of Palatka, providing for scrivener's errors and providing for an effective date. And this second reading as well.
Thank you, Ms. Ms. Walsh. Ms. Walsh. She stepped out. Okay. Is the applicant here by any chance? Okay.
I'm here.
Okay, him,
I'm
Ms.
here
Walsh,
through
okay.
Zoom.
Round C, Ms. Walsh, whatever information you can share with us, please. Okay, thank you.
Item.
Thank you, Sunny. Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a request to annex 0.62 acres for the purpose of connecting to water and sewer systems. It would amend the future land use map from Putnam County Urban Reserve to City of Palatka Residential Low and rezone from Putnam County Residential 2-Family R2 to City of Palatka 2-Family Residential R2.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
Through Zoom, I'm here.
I do not see the applicant
I
here.
have a
Applicant?
question. As we aim to be procedurally correct? What would we do in this instance? Because you know.
That's what I was gonna
Madam
ask.
Mayor, if I may, there is someone on the Zoom that I do
Okay.
not recognize, and I remember one of Ms. Walsh staff advising me that someone would be zooming in that wouldn't be present. Is this that applicant, Madam Ms. Walsh?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I almost said Madam Walsh. It's been long. I'm sorry.
Madam Walsh. I think I just got into a different business.
Okay, do we have any questions of the applicant? Any additional information? Okay. It's right here.
Samara.
Must be Samara. Yes. I
Hello,
would
I'm
guess.
here.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to open it up to public comment. Anybody here for public comment? Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment. If there are no questions of the applicant, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 2023-29 annexation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. Ms.
Thank you.
Krantz?
Ordinance 2023-30, an ordinance of the city of Plaque, Florida, providing the future land use map of the adopted comprehensive plan be amended with respect to the following parcel of land less than 50 acres in size from Putnam County Urban Reserve, UR, to City Plaque Residential Low for the following property: 204 High Lawn Avenue, Plaque, Florida, 32177, lots 17, 18, 19, and 20, block F, High Lawn, according to the map or plat thereof is recorded in map or plat book 2, page 49 of the public records of Putnam County, Florida, parcel number 1110263770060017, contiguous to the boundaries of the city of Plaque, and providing for scrivener's errors, providing for an effective date.
No further information, I would assume. Opening up to public comment. Anybody here for public comment? Seeing none, we're closing public comment.
I make the motion that we approve ordinance 2023-31 rezoning.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. Ms. Krantz?
Here's ordinance number 2023-32. It's for second reading as well, Madam Mayor. It's an ordinance of the city of Palatka amending Palatka Municipal Code, Chapter 22, Section 22.2, 22.5, 22.8, and 22.9 as it pertains to the cemetery fund and cemetery rules and regulations, providing for severability, providing for an effective date, and providing for scrivener's errors.
Mr. McMillan?
This is an amendment increasing the contribution of the sale of each adult plot from $125 to $250, retitling the deeds to deeds for interment rights within the cemetery, and also redesignating the individual to sign on behalf of the city from the city mayor to the city manager or designee.
Any questions? Go ahead, Commissioner Jones.
You kind of went low there.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah, you started loud and went low. Would you read that again? Tell me that again.
Okay, so can you hear me through the mic now? Okay, this is increasing the contribution for the sale of each adult plot from $125 to $250. Retitling deeds for purchase within the cemetery to deeds for interment rights, and then changing the designee for the individual to sign for these rights from the city mayor to the city manager or designee.
Is the second reading. Okay, I'm going to open the floor to public comment. Anybody here for public comment on this topic? Seeing none, I'm closing public comment. Do we have a motion?
Motion to accept ordinance 2023-32.
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. D, yes, excuse me. E, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is also presented to you guys to the commission for second reading. Ordinance number 2023-34, an ordinance of the city of Palatka creating section 105 within chapter 70 of the Code of Ordinances by adding city-owned parks, open spaces, and community facilities, naming procedures, providing for conflict with other ordinances, providing for an effective date, providing for severability, providing for scrivener's errors.
Thank you. Is there anybody here staff-wise to speak to this? Is that Joe? Is that you?
I can speak to it there.
Okay.
So you may recall, this is just a process whereby citizens or the city could propose for renaming of city parks and or facilities. We did not have a formal process established. So we looked at some industry standards and we identified a section of our code to insert this. This is second reading for adoption.
Okay. I'm going to open the floor to public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment? Seeing none, close public comment. Any further discussion, motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 2334.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. Onward to commissioner comments. Does anybody have any further comments?
I do. I'll be brief. I'd like to have, as we go forth with each commissioner having the opportunity to present events, and some of these events may be class events, I would recommend that we have a formal presentation from Cultural Affairs of the process, inclusive of vending and how to make sure that anyone that we solicit has the proper documentation. So this may be in conjunction with our finance, just to make sure that we as a commission are on the same page based on some of the previous, I'll be more specific, one of my events that I did and the protocol of which I became aware of as a result of doing the event. And I would like my fellow commissioners to be brought to the same page so that they are aware, so it does not happen to them as they begin to plan and solicit to have individuals serve as vendors that possibly would be paid. So I want to make sure that we have that as a whole and bring them up to speed as well. Mosley Elementary has solicited the city to take part in their fall festival. As we know, that is one of the schools that we recognize as our student of the month. If you would like to do it, please respond. I believe that she sent an email. If you all would not like to have a collective unit, I mean, if you want to do it individually, but if you would like to join me and it's okay with the everyone, I will have a position and you all are more than welcome to me. So you won't have to have an individual station to join me, and we can just label City of Palatka as I'm already taking part in it. And we can just be one for those that would like to. If you would like to be individually, have your own individual station, that is an option as well. But I will be out there, so we wouldn't have to recreate the wheel. You all can just join me if that would be the pleasure of you all.
I'll join you if you're gonna put in some work. You can put in a little work. I'm just kidding. I'll join.
I've already put in the work.
I'll be happy to join that event.
So I think I'd be in favor of joining two versus doing a separate booth
Yeah.
space. So it makes sense.
And the date of that is the 24th, and it starts at 5. Once you all get
Yeah.
there, I'll already be set up. And
Yeah, please send us in. Thank you.
Can we do that at a calendar event? Is that a calendar?
I'll get
So
the sign.
Okay, thank you. Any other commissioners have a comment?
About that? Or
No,
just
no,
any comment?
any comment?
My only comment here is, I think we talked about this just briefly last meeting in terms of the number of annexations that we're getting in. And again, the annexations that we're getting in a number of different things from single family households to now potentially hotels coming in. With these annexations, I think what we need to do is maybe do a suspension until we can get this under control, because these onesies and twosies is not going to cover the expense for the impact that is causing for services, whether it's police, fire, hospitals, schools, different things of that nature. So I think we need to collectively look at a better way to bring these people into the community, and instead of onesies and twosies. I think, from a standpoint of cost, the few citizens that are paying, the 40-something hundred accounts that we have, it can't support the people who are just piggybacking off of the city right now. So that's just my comment.
And I would defer to Ms. Walsh or Ms. West for clarification about how to move forward.
So if I understand correctly, you're asking for essentially a moratorium on
Yes.
annexation?
Moratorium on annexation.
Go ahead.
I'll just note, the commission has adopted an impact fee study methodology and impact fees. So you have the basis for people to pay for the impact to come into the city. If you put a moratorium on annexations, hypothetical is you have an individual, just like the gentleman that was here tonight, that needs water and sewer. We would need to revise our ordinance that's on the books that requires annexation prior to hooking up, if you're contiguous. So it's just some things to consider. I will tell you, based upon some of the comments by the commission and some previous conversations and workshops, we have been looking into a company by the name of Urban 3. And what they do is a very detailed fiscal analysis where they look at the impact on a community based upon the type of development, as well as the cost to service that development. So they look at the taxable value per acre and they look at the cost to service, and you can see the net impact. And it's very enlightening. I believe in conversations with Ms. Walsh, with some of the savings that she's realizing in her comprehensive plan update, we have identified some funding to bring that forward as an option for you. You would most likely look at that analysis at the same time that you have a joint conversation with the county about establishing the urban service area, and literally and figuratively drawing a line in the sand saying, past this line, we will not require annexation at this date. Inside this line, we will require annexation. So if that is your desire to look at that, we support that wholeheartedly, and we can fast track it.
Well, I know that was my desire because of the urban service boundary and then the enclaves that we have. It causes a lot of service overlaps, waste, and confusion. So that's where I was trying to go with that.
Thank you. Any other commissioners have any other comments? No. With that said, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Thank you.